It's the ESPN Dayton hashtag We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Be listening every hour for the word that wins and enter it at wingam.com. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Happy Thursday. It is the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. When the listeners want something, they get what they want. I got rid of the stash.
Boo.
When they want something, now, if they just say Kinner gets skinnier, maybe I can make that happen too. But again, I'm not, But the stash was kind of creepy. I agree with people, so I got rid of the stash. The Mario costume got it started last Friday. A little Halloween, got into the spirit of things. And I kind of liked it after that. I kind of left it, but, it wasn't that popular.
Can you grow a beard?
No, I can't. It drives me nuts. I could go to the goatee, the mustache, but no, it looks all weird.
Yeah, same here.
Can't do it.
Very
do it. I'm jealous of the people that had the big-ass beards, little lumberjack. Can't do it. Can't do it.
My brother calls him Patch Adams.
It's like
not funny. It's not funny.
All right, we got a lot to get into. I'm excited for today. We got a few guests. We're going to talk Dayton Flyers basketball coming up here in about a half hour. Matt Babcock with Babcock Hoops is going to join us. He's an NBA draft analyst, former NBA agent. He's going to call into the show. His latest mock draft is out. And, of course, he has Obi Toppin going in the top of the draft. But where in the top of the draft? We're going to get to that with him coming up here in a half hour, 3:30. Matt will call into the show, so looking forward to talking to him. Sully from Talking Out Loud, more Dayton Flyers content coming your way. That comes up later on tonight, part 2 of the interview with Brooks Hall. That's coming up 6 to 7, Talking Out Loud immediately following this show. But Sully's going to call in about 5:30. The Ken Pom rankings are out, and, of course, every year we overreact to rankings of any kind, whether it's Ken Pom. It doesn't matter, but, the Flyers – they're, everyone's upset with where they're at in the Ken Pom rankings. So we're going to talk about that with Sully coming up here later on in the show as well. But I want to open up with a little Cincinnati Reds talk because there's a lot of reports coming out. This starts with your Cleveland Indians, of course. There are reports out there that the Cleveland Indians are looking to trade Francisco Lindor by the 2021 opening day. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if opening day will be in late March and April, or if we're going to do this whole July thing again. I mean, we have no clue how that's going to unfold. But we know that a lot of teams are looking to shave payroll. We know that a lot of teams are trying to move on from certain players. Now, to be fair, I don't think this Francisco Lindor deal has anything to do with the coronavirus in regards to the rosters being impacted by that. There are a lot of teams, including the Indians, who moved on from Hand and some others. Mm-hmm. Those were COVID decisions. Those were like, okay, we didn't make any money this year, no fans in the stands. Like that's a direct result of that. Lindor, there had been rumors going back to last season, even the season before that, of when should the Indians really look to try to move him? When would they have the most leverage? When would they be able, at what point in this cycle would they be able to get the most back in return? Mm-hmm. Well, now would probably be that time, except maybe not, because there's a lot of teams looking to shave payroll. There's not a lot of teams who are looking to take on heavy payroll. And Francisco Lindor, it's going to take that. But the Cincinnati Reds have always been a team rumored to be in that position to go after Francisco Lindor. They've been trying to find a solution at shortstop, and they have yet to marry anybody at shortstop as far as that's concerned. But Francisco Lindor, he's the kind you take home to mom right there. Yeah. That's the kind you marry right there if you're the Cincinnati Reds. So with that being said, it's okay. I think the Reds do have enough in the system to be able to get it done. I think they have you can make a package around Nick Senzel. You can, send some of your guys in the system with them. I don't know if that includes Hunter Green. I don't know if that includes Lodolo. I don't know who all that would include, but the Indians are going to want they're going to want to haul back.
Yes.
And the Reds would possibly be interested in giving them that haul that they're interested in, but the Indians would have to pay some of that salary to be able to make it a little bit more feasible as far as that goes. Plus, can the Reds afford to give him that max extension? Not really an extension, but just a new contract, because that's really what Lindor wants. He wants to stay in Cleveland. He said multiple times he would love to stay in Cleveland, but Cleveland has said multiple times, you know what, we just can't. And it's going to be interesting because right now there's a lot of talk about the Reds and their chances of getting Trevor Bauer back, which is all funny because two former Indian, Trevor Bauer, a former Indian right now, Francisco Lindor, a current Cleveland Indian, could potentially be a future Cincinnati Red, but there's a lot of teams in the mix for Francisco Lindor as well. You got your typical Red Sox, your Yankees, those types of teams at the top of the food chain, just, chomping at the bit to be able to, acquire a Francisco Lindor. So the bottom line is we know this. It's an iffy situation for the Reds to be able to even afford Trevor Bauer. It's an iffy situation about whether the Reds can afford a Francisco Lindor. Now, they could probably it's an easier shot at them getting Francisco Lindor because they would just have to give up prospects and guys in the system to be able to get it done.
Yep. And that's all the Indians want.
And that's all the Indians want as far as that goes. So, as far as Trevor Bauer is concerned, he's going to be pretty expensive. The Reds are going to have to pay one of these two. If they want one of these two, they're going to have to pay one of these two, but they can't pay both. That is one thing we do know for sure. They cannot pay both. So the big question is if you are the Cincinnati Reds, who throughout this entire rebuild, your biggest struggle has been pitching. You come out on the other side of the rebuild. You finally make the playoffs for the first time since 2012. You finally get back to the postseason, and it's because of your pitching. There was no hitting. The pitching got you to the playoffs. However, they did make moves by going out and getting guys like, of course, Mike Moustakas, and they got Castellanos, and, of course, Akiyama. You already had a Eugenio Suarez. Like, you had weapons. I mean, hell, even your catcher, Tucker Barnhart, not the best hitter in baseball, very streaky, but you know what? Just won his second Gold Glove. He brings something to the table. The Reds have weapons defensively, offensively. They need to fine-tune some things, and Francisco Lindor would take care of two problems, defensive problems and, of course, the offensive problems, as far as that's concerned. There it is, as far as that's concerned. I've been trying to work on that, But the Reds have to make a decision, and I'm curious which side of the fence the fans are going to fall on. Which side makes more sense? Which of these two players makes more sense for the Cincinnati Reds? Not from a financial standpoint. Just assume that the Reds have enough to get it done. I don't want to deal with the whole, they probably can't afford this. No. Because if the Reds want it, they'll make it happen. They knew the risk when they went and acquired, Bauer to begin with. When they traded for Trevor Bauer a year and a half ago, they knew that this was going to be the possibility that it was going to come head-to-head to this situation. So I don't want to hear that. And the Reds have never, we act like the Reds are just totally against giving out max contracts. In fact, some of the biggest arguments Reds fans have amongst one another is the bad contract that they gave to Homer Bailey. Mm-hmm. All right, the bad contract that people think that they gave to Joey Votto, which I don't believe that. They average about probably every 10 years, they average about one good big max contract. And I think that they're in line to give another one right now. You're coming on the tail end of Joey Votto's max contract. You really haven't given out significant dollars anywhere else. You're going to have to make sure you keep an eye on the development of Luis Castillo because he's going to garner big dollars. But you were able to get a nice friendly deal with Eugenio Suarez, and he's turned into, maybe not last year, but the year before, you were talking about him potentially winning a home run title, which is pretty impressive. So the Reds have to make a decision. Do you go all in to get Francisco Lindor and not be able to bring back Trevor Bauer, or do you go all in to get Trevor Bauer and have the same offensive woes that you did a year ago? I'm going to open up the phone lines at 457-9464. We are live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. For a lot of you, you're already following the page, and a lot of you are already tuning in. You're watching on Twitter. You're watching on YouTube. We always appreciate that. You're probably listening on the stream as well. But head to Facebook, head to Twitter, head to YouTube. In the comment section, I want to hear from you. If you could only pick one, because they can only pick one. The Reds cannot afford Trevor Bauer and Francisco Lindor, but they probably can, if they put all their resources together, afford to go after one or the other. Pitching means a lot, but Francisco Lindor brings a lot to the table. It's not just that he brings a bat to the table. Nick Castellanos, he brings a bat to the table. Moustakas brings a bat to the table. Lindor brings credibility,
brings
star power, defense, everything. He's the complete package.
He brings fans to the games,
yes.
Too.
So Trevor, to me, Francisco Lindor goes beyond just we struggled hitting last year. We need to go get a good hitter. Or let's get Trevor Bauer because, you can go get some bats in free agency. Maybe not, because we learned last year that going to get bats in free agency, although it did help, Castellanos was a boost offensively. It was unfortunate that at the same time of at the same time of him hitting the ball, everyone else wasn't. There was just, a lot of inconsistencies there. But 457-9464, which of these two, Trevor Bauer or Francisco Lindor, which of these two should the Cincinnati Reds put the majority of their focus in? For me, I'm back and forth. But if you could only pick one, who's younger, by the way? Francisco Lindor is younger, correct?
Yeah, Lindor, yeah.
I think you got to go after Lindor. And And I say that because the pitching isn't terrible. You have Lodolo, but then again, you don't, because Lodolo coming up through the system, you're probably going to have to give him up to be able to get him. Hunter Green, you're probably going to have to give him up to be able to acquire him. I'm torn. I really am. I don't know which. I love both of these guys, but I feel like you're going to have more of a window of greatness from Francisco Lindor than you are from Trevor Bauer.
I'm super torn on this, man. Frankie,
and you had both, by the way.
Yeah. It was
poor
good
Kev.
Good time.
Yeah.
Frankie is my favorite player, current player in Major League Baseball. Like you said, he brings the bat, he brings the glove, he brings the energy, and he's an everyday player. So that side of me says go with him, but I know that Bauer, when he's locked in and dialed in, he can perform like he did this past season every single game. And that is vital in the playoffs. I mean, that gem he pitched in the playoffs was just crazy. Yep. Unfortunately, they didn't win the game because they couldn't hit. So that glaring need to hit the ball is there. And Frankie can carry a team offensively because, believe it or not, after the year after Cleveland Indians went to the World Series, he was the only guy hitting, and he was the only guy generating runs and everything like that. So I guess I would say Frankie.
See, and I'm going to say Francisco Lindor as well, as much as and Trevor Bauer drives me up the wall, but you can't argue with talent. You can't argue with talent as far as that goes. But I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this, pitching rotation for the Reds. And of course, everything's going to change from time to time. Don't get me wrong. But right now, you have a rotation that features Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Tyler Mahle, TJ Antone. Like, they weren't one of the best pitching rotations just because of one guy. They were one of the best pitching rotations because of all of them together. And losing Trevor Bauer is a big blow to this team.
Right.
But I don't think that it is going to annihilate this team. I think that because you still have Sonny Gray and Luis Castillo, that's a good starting base right there. Tyler Mahle made strides last year. I was very impressed with him. They're going to weaken the rotation if they go after Francisco Lindor, but I'm okay with that. 457-9464. I think that there is enough pitching left for the Reds to be able to go after Lindor. Get a huge pop in that lineup. You have Francisco Lindor. You're going to have Moustakas. You're going to have Castellanos. You're going to have Suarez. I mean, that foursome right there. I mean, come on. I don't know how you could sit there and look at that and say that, hey, that's going to produce runs. Your rotation will not be as good. But you talked about that gem that Trevor Bauer pitched in the playoffs for the Reds. Keep in mind, they played 27 innings? It wasn't just Trevor Bauer that pitched a gem in that game. That bullpen, too. I bashed David Bell all season long. But that bullpen, the reason they made the playoffs towards the end of the year, it wasn't because of the starters. I'm going to compare it to the Bengals right now. Like this past week with the win over the Titans. People are like, oh, they won that game because of Joe Burrow. Well, no, they didn't. They won that game because of the offensive line and the defense. Two things that were really hurting the Bengals early, stepped up, made plays, and boom. Joe Burrow for the Bengals is what the starting pitching was for the Reds. You knew what you were going to get on a nightly basis from your starters. You knew what you were going to get on a nightly basis from Joe Burrow. But what you didn't know what you were going to get on a weekly, nightly basis from the Reds and Bengals was, how is your line going to block? How is your defense going to play? And how is your bullpen going to perform? And how is your lineup going to provide runs? The run support was key. Mm-hmm. The one constant was always the starters. The one constant for the Bengals is always Joe Burrow. They're why you're always in position to win, but the reason you're going to win is going to be what you have around them. So to me, the rotation is solid. It'll still be solid post Trevor Bauer, but it's only going to work if you complement it with some firepower in that lineup. And I think that you put Francisco Lindor in there, along with the Eugenio Suarez, with Moustakas, with Castellanos. There's already talk and reports of the Reds interested in potentially looking at a first baseman to maybe do a little bit of a platoon approach there, which would, of course, give Joey Votto more rest, which would give him, less, appearances at the plate. But at the same time, maybe less of Joey Votto is more as far as that goes. I like this lineup if they go out and get Francisco Lindor. If I had to pick between the Reds going all in on Trevor Bauer or Francisco Lindor, I can't believe I'm going against the pitching, but I'm going against the pitching, and I'm going to pick Francisco Lindor. Real quick, before we go to the phones, let's go to the Facebook reaction. Brian Heald, he says, give me pitching all day. So that's one vote already for Trevor Bauer. Again, if you're just tuning in to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, reports are circulating today that the Indians are looking to move on from Francisco Lindor by the 2021 opening day. And the Reds aren't the only team interested in him. Obviously, a lot of teams are going to be trying to position themselves to get him, but the Reds have a lot of prospects, and the Reds have a pretty solid trade history between the Indians and the Reds. So I think that there is a possibility there, but the Reds cannot afford to go after Bauer and Lindor. So ultimately, the front office would have to pick which of these two are we going to put all of our, which of these two are we going to put, prioritize? I think it has to be Francisco Lindor. He brings more to the table than Bauer from just on the field standpoint. I mean, it's asses and seats, it's star power. I think, who's better at their position, in your opinion? Because Bauer separated himself this year, but keep in mind, Bauer hasn't looked like that in a while.
Yeah, it was overall, Frankie is a better player just because he's an everyday player. And he's had a down year this year, but Bauer spiked up this year. But last year was a rough year for Bauer. And the year before he got traded, he was having a rough year with the Cleveland Indians. So I guess Frankie is a better player, but I just rely on that everyday player thing, him hitting the ball, him fielding. He's just an all-around talented player. And I think it really goes into the Reds' favor because obviously it's going to be a trade situation. Do you, as the Indians, want to trade Lindor in the AL where you got to see him? You got to come back to town and hit homers off of you.
That's where the Reds come into play.
Run to your stadium, smile at your fans, shake all the fans that, hey, I missed you guys. Hey, look, man, I love you, man, but you don't play here no more, so I hate you. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's going to be like one of those situations.
I'll end you.
But yeah. So you ship them to the Reds. You see them, 4 or 5 times a year, and that'll be that. So it's just really like the Red Sox, like unless they come with the hall of all halls that you can't turn down, you ship them to the NL.
All right, 457-9464. Ryan Payne on Facebook says Bauer. His tweets are fire.
So is this podcast.
Our friend Ann says pitching. And can't
deny pitching, man.
By the way, and if the Reds do go all in on Bauer, it's not like I'm going to lose sleep and say, man, they made a mistake by not going after Lindor. But you also have Sonny Gray. You have Luis Castillo. You have 2 strong pieces in that rotation that you can go add another, obviously not as big a star as Trevor Bauer, but you can go add another piece. It's not like the only reason the rotation was one of the best in baseball was because of him. Hell, we've seen a team like the Astros lose, their top guy. And they're still one of the top pitching teams in baseball. So to me, it's just like it's not always about one guy. One guy doesn't make a rotation. It's a group of guys. And I think the Reds have a good, solid group of guys that would they take a step backwards? Yes, technically they would. But 457-9464, one more Facebook poll here. Johnny Ritchie says if Bauer is only considering 1-year deals, you'd have to go with Lindor, providing you can extend them. Bauer is my favorite player. I'm torn between these two. I just think it's Lindor, but you are right, Johnny. If Trevor Bauer is going to keep pulling the chain of the Reds and say just 1-year deal, although he says he's open to longer than just 1 year, I don't like the games that Bauer plays. Bauer keeps doing this, maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll go there, maybe I'll go play here. I don't have time for that. Like he's acting like a child on social media. Ryan Payne says his tweets are fire, but he acts like a child. He's tweeting at every team out there. Maybe this will be a fun place to play. Maybe I'd really enjoy it here. We don't got time for that because every day that every second that ticks off the clock, that's less time that we're spending over here trying to get this done. As far as that goes, William Yelly, better pitching trumps better hitting in the playoffs, which is all that matters. I agree with you, but it's not like the Reds don't have good pitching. You would still have Sonny Gray to be the ace within your staff, and he was the ace of the staff last year when Trevor Bauer wasn't pitching well. He also says he doesn't think it matters, though. Pretty sure Bauer's going to the Yankees anyway. I'll say it doesn't matter.
He's not going to the Yankees. He's not going to the Yankees at all. There's no way he goes to the Yankees. He'll go to Boston. He'll go to Padres. He'll stay with the Reds. He will not be signing with the Yankees. He's not like, I won't say he's not all about the money and everything like that, but those aren't the most important things to him because there have been contracts on the table from the Cleveland Indians before he didn't sign. So he turned down this money that was going to be guaranteed with the Reds. So money isn't his determining factor in everything. So he's a very unique guy. We all know that. So everything's on the table besides the Yankees, because the way the Yankees operate, like, he's not going to last there. Like, the stuff that he pulls with the Cleveland Indians and the Reds, you try to pull that in New York City, they'll gobble him up.
The Mets are another team that's heavily favored.
You can pull that with the Mets. You can pull that with the Yankees.
Bauer to the Mets and Lindor to the Mets, possibly both to the Mets. Keep in mind, is it Cohen, the new owner out there, or they're still voting? I read an article yesterday that all the owners had to vote on it, and Castellini, I'm sorry, the owner of the Reds, he voted against it, according to the article that came out. I still have no clue why certain owners. I mean, again, it's just the little club that they have that we always talk about. So I have no clue what gels in their club and what doesn't.
That is funny. That is hilarious, to be exact.
Let's go to Patrick. Patrick, thanks for holding, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Pretty good. I think Francisco Lindor, because if we lost Trevor, we could always replace him with somebody on the free agent market or through a trade too, like a Lance Glenn or somebody like him.
Yeah, because like we learned last year that, okay, if you want to add some pop into your lineup, you can get a Castellanos, you can get a Moustakas, but they did their part, but there was still something lacking. And I think Francisco Lindor is just that next level type of guy.
When's the last time the Reds had a superstar caliber player besides Griffey, if he wasn't injured? But when's the last time we had a superstar caliber player?
You're right. Votto has had superstar caliber numbers, but he didn't have that presence about him.
When did Votto win the MVP?
2012.
And I think Lindor could be actually a team leader too.
What's that?
He could be a team leader, a catalyst.
And they need that. And I mean, you're adding him into a lineup that has Castellanos and Moustakas and Suarez, and that just, to me, that top of the order is just going to be filthy. I mean, that's just, good for the Reds if they could pull this off. And again, I'm not going to lose sleep if they pull the trigger on keeping Trevor Bauer, but at the same time, I think you can't go wrong with either. I just hope that the Reds don't head into next season without either one of them, and there's a good chance that could be the case as well.
Yeah, you never know. So hopefully we'll get 2021 right here, and we'll be turning playoff tickets.
Yeah, and hopefully we can go to games, right?
Wishful thinking.
Hey, Patrick, good hearing from you. You take care. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right, 457-9464. We got our guy Shaw waiting on hold. Shaw, what's up, sir? You're up.
Not bad. How about you guys?
Hanging in there.
Another day in paradise.
Yeah, that's what they say. Do you guys remember 1999 Cincinnati Reds?
I was 10, but sure.
Anyways, I'm a little older than that. 1999, this team was, I feel, one piece away from going pretty far. They landed to the wild card series, lost Al Leiter in a perfect game, pitched by him. They win 5-0. Long story short, then the Reds make the Griffey Jr. trade. The reason I bring that up is I feel that would be the same thing now if they went and they made the Lindor trade. I do not think you get rid of Bauer in favor of Lindor. Here's why. Bauer, to me, takes his pitching staff and sends it over the top. You take Bauer away, and yes, it's feasible with Gray, Castillo, and some of the others, but it's not a pitching staff you walk into a playoff series and you actually fear. You keep Bauer on this stuff, that's a pitching staff you fear going into a series, and it changes how you play offense. Don't believe me? Look at some of the reports coming from Atlanta talking about some of the hardest pitching they faced all playoffs was in Cincinnati, and that's including when they played with the LA Dodgers. Yes, Lindor changes the lineup, but to me, pitching has always been the key to baseball. Pitching will always be the key to baseball. Lindor changes the lineup, but how much does he change the lineup? On a day-to-day basis, what is he bringing to the lineup to change it on an everyday basis to take this team over the top?
He's playing every day. That's the one plus to that. I see what you're saying, but there's at least the caveat that he's playing every day versus every 4 or 5 days. Well, you say that about Bauer too. But I know what you're saying. Like I said, I'm torn because there's nothing you're saying I'm disagreeing with. It's just there's so many pros to both sides that the cons just aren't really pulling me one way or another. I guess it's just interesting. I guess I'm not going to lose sleep over either side that they decide to go with. But man, I don't think they can go wrong with going with either side. What's up, Kev?
And
Go ahead, Shaw.
no, go ahead, Kev.
So the thing about Ken Griffey was he was, 30, 31 at the time, right?
I believe so, yes, maybe 29, but he was going to turn 30 at the beginning of the season.
Now, Lindor is 26, 27, right? So I think that age gap right there, those are prime years that you will be getting from Lindor as opposed to Ken Griffey. It seemed like as soon as he got to Cincinnati, he was hurt. And he was battling injuries all that time. I remember Frankie got hurt maybe his second year. He missed a couple games or whatever, about 3-4 weeks or whatever. I know he had the broken thumb not too long ago and everything like that. But, you're getting a younger player. So, when you compare him and Ken Griffey and everything like that, obviously Ken Griffey's a Hall of Fame player. We'll see where Frankie ends up. But, I think that you could say Lindor is I think we all agree he's a top 5 shortstop in baseball, right?
Yeah.
So where do you put? Where would you put?
Where is you know better because you're an Indians fan than I do. I know who he is because I'm a baseball fan, but where is he on power compared to other shortstops in the league?
I mean, he led them in home runs the year that they went to the World Series. And you led him in batting average and home runs the year after. This year was definitely a down year for him in every category. I mean, he was booting the ball off his foot and everything like that. And the thing that I know about Frankie and everything following his career, he's one of those guys that feeds off the energy of the crowd. And after every home game, they do their Skype interviews and everything like that. He's frowning and that's not him. So I think once you get the insertion of fans back into the crowd and the stadiums and everything like that, you're going to get that Frankie that you're used to seeing. So whomever that team is, once you get fans back, you're going to get the old Frankie back.
How's he been? You bring up the World Series here, but that was 2016.
Right.
How's he been since 2016? From what
he's, even last year he was top. He had 29 home runs. Trevor Story had, I think, 35. Bogarts, I believe, out of Boston had 33. And Shaw, we're going to get back into this in a bit. And I'll definitely want you to call back, and we'll get back into that here later on in the show. Shaw, thanks. But call back when we get back into this topic, because I definitely want to get back into this. I think there's a lot here. When you start comparing Lindor to other shortstops around Major League Baseball. All right, coming up here around the corner, of course, we are going to talk a little college basketball, the NBA, or I should say the NBA. The NBA draft coming up around the corner. Matt Babcock with Babcock Hoops. Again, NBA draft analyst. He's going to join us. He has Obi Toppin going 5th to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to talk with him about why he has Obi dropping to 5th. And we say dropping, right? Dropping. Why does he have Obi Toppin going 5th to the Cleveland Cavaliers? Does he see what's the ceiling for Obi in this draft? We're going to talk with Matt Babcock, NBA draft analyst, coming up next. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a high near 68. Tonight's going to be mostly to partly cloudy with a low around 45. And tomorrow will be mainly clear with a high near 70. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Charlie's management team is currently a team of one.
Yeah, I got a meeting, but you keep up the good work. Can you fix that display for me? Did Steve show up today?
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
O'Reilly When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Try Vicks VapoCool Drops in Honey Lemon Chill for a fast-acting relief of honey lemon. Not to mention a soothing chill. So remember, Vicks VapoCool Drops are honey lemon and honey lemon. Yeah, honey lemon chill. Get fast-acting relief with Vicks VapoCool Drops in Honey Lemon Chill. Use as directed.
You have empty office space to fill. You know what you need, and you know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places that what you need and what you'd like, that might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half price and below manufacturer suggested prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really. Desks from $50 to $5,000. File cabinets, $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Outlet. With 87,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. 2 locations. One at 23 McOil Street, Dayton. The other, Uniques Unlimited on South Dixie. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Saturday, 10 to 4.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So the NBA draft is coming up on Wednesday, November 18th. We're just under 2 weeks away, and I feel like we've been waiting a long, long time to finally hear the name of Obi Toppin be called in the NBA draft. And, you know, this is a guy that I feel absolutely horrible for. I mean, just when they were on the brink of being able to, he had obviously established a name for himself very early on in the season. He had an okay time in Maui. Skyrocketed up the draft boards from that point forward. UD, shot up and skyrocketed up the rankings. It was a magical year for the Flyers. The rug was pulled out from them right in March, before the A-10 tournament in Brooklyn. Then, of course, everything just went to no NCAA tournament. He didn't get a chance to, shine on the biggest stage, the NCAA tournament. And then the draft gets pushed back. He doesn't get to walk up on the stage and all that. There's so many things that was taken away. But again, it's not going to take away the opportunity to play in the NBA. And that's all that matters. And we're just a couple weeks away from finding out where Obi Toppin could potentially end up. And joining us now to talk NBA draft, we have Matt Babcock from Babcock Hoops. Matt, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. We appreciate you taking time and hanging out with us today. I guess we could finally say, the NBA draft is coming up here in just under 2 weeks.
Yeah, no kidding. It feels like a never-ending pre-draft process, and finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here.
Yeah, and before we get into Obi and your mock draft, your latest mock draft that we have here in front of us, what's crazy is that right now they're talking about when the season could potentially start. It could potentially be as early as December 22nd. You could have the draft on the 18th of November, and less than a month later the season tips off. That's going to be a huge transition period for a lot of these rookies who have just been doing some private workouts since the NCAA tournament was pulled out from underneath them, and the next time they step on the floor, which could potentially be for their NBA team.
Yeah, no, I think these rookies are going to be at a huge disadvantage. The one thing is, most of these guys are in great shape because they've been working so hard, and they've had a long period of time to work with their trainers and get their bodies right. But just the transition to the NBA, it's an entirely different game and much more sophisticated. And so there's going to be a lot thrown at these guys right off the bat. Where in most years they have an opportunity to start working out with their coaches, go to summer league, and having a pretty big window to kind of get caught up. They're not going to have that luxury this year, so it's going to be interesting to see how many of these players are going to be capable of stepping in and filling roles right off the bat.
You mentioned Summer League. How important was Summer League for the other guys, and how will it affect not having Summer League for the upcoming rookies?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really big. I mean, for rookies, it's big for second and third year guys that are still developing, and it's a good opportunity for guys to play really structured, organized basketball against top level competition, and it's a big part of development process for these young guys. And so I do think it's a pretty big loss for everybody involved.
Matt, your latest NBA mock draft, again, and we're going to get to that in a second, but you look at the talent that's in this upcoming draft. It's not the most talented draft class in some years, but just how deep is this draft? I mean, how would you describe this draft when you start making your mock draft boards?
Yeah, I mean, the two things that come to mind is that, there's a lot of parity and there is depth. There isn't the clear-cut number one, number two guy like there is in some years' drafts. I mean, I think there's a lot of parity, like I said, and, with that, it makes it really challenging to project what these teams are actually going to do because I think teams have a number of different options at different spots in the draft.
All right, so your latest NBA mock draft that you have Anthony Edwards going number one overall to the Timberwolves. Do you try to anticipate trades in the draft? Do you anticipate any trades, or is this just you lay your mock draft out based on the order that it is currently?
Yeah, we try to stay away from projecting trades, and there's so many rumors going on, and we are privy to some insider information as far as what's being discussed. With Minnesota specifically, taking Anthony Edwards, it's one of these deals where if I were to bet on it, I think Minnesota is going to end up moving that pick. I know they want to, which is a matter if they're going to be able to get a deal that's worthwhile. If they're not, I think they've sort of centered in on the top two guys for them are Anthony Edwards or James Wiseman. And for me, I question if they're really, when push comes to shove, want to throw out a lineup there of Karl Anthony Towns and Wiseman. But, those are 2 7-footers, and just even though the Lakers had success this year playing a lot of big guys, I still think that would be an aggressive move. And Anthony Edwards is, I've said it all year, he's got the most upside in the draft, and so that's why I went with Edwards at 1.
So you have Obi Toppin going number 5 overall to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What is his ceiling? What's the highest you could see him going? I mean, is there any chance at all that Dayton fans here could potentially hear his name go number 1?
Yeah, when the lottery the order first got set, I put Obi at 1. I really like the fit with Minnesota. Mm-hmm. As things have sort of progressed from them, it seems like they, Obi, even though Minnesota's interested in him, my bet would be they have him slightly behind those first 2 guys. And so, I think there's a world where, Minnesota were to move back and take Toppin. However, I don't think Obi is going to be the number 1 pick.
What do you make of the rumors about James Wiseman turning down the potential of being drafted number 1 to the T-Wolves?
Yeah, all that's where the agents kind of step in and try and manipulate things. If Minnesota thinks basketball-wise he's the right fit, I don't think they're going to be afraid of taking James. James is known to be a good kid. And I've seen this before with different teams and agents trying to manipulate things. And, in most cases, if the team decides to go with it, even against the agents' desires, it ends up working itself out. So, I don't think that's a huge roadblock for Minnesota.
We know the names Obi Toppin, Anthony Edwards, but like some of the other names people don't know, like Devin Vassell, Elijah Hughes, and those type of guys. Like, talk about some of those guys that could basically are equal, but you have, Devin Vassell going 9th and Elijah Hughes 22. Like, there's a pack of guys who are almost basically the same player.
Yeah, I would have to sell, in a tier slightly higher than Elijah Hughes. But yeah, you're right. Elijah Hughes is a guy that I think was, almost, hidden in plain sight this year. He's had somewhat of an unorthodox path. Initially went to East Carolina. He's probably under recruited out of high school and transferred to Syracuse. And he's a guy that just kept getting better each year. And there's actually a few guys that have had similar paths that are in a good spot right now with the draft. Malachi Flynn. From San Diego State. He initially went to Washington State, older player, had a really great year at San Diego State. They only lost 2 games the whole year. I think he's going to be a first-round pick. And then Jalen Harris, another guy that's older that was a transfer, originally went to Louisiana Tech and transferred to Nevada and had a terrific year this year. And so those 3 guys I think are sort of the sleeper picks, a little older, not the one-and-done types.
All right, we have Matt Babcock with us here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, talking NBA draft. He's an NBA draft analyst with Babcock Hoops, and we're excited to have him on. Now, you're a former NBA agent, and I'm curious, if you were an agent in this situation, what kind of advice would you be giving to not only players who are free agents looking for new homes, but even any rookies right now, these guys out of college who are waiting to hear their name on draft night?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the draft goes, it's been such a long process. As far as how I think it's going to unfold, I think it's going to be pretty typical. I mean, the draft is hard to really pinpoint as far as exactly where players are going to go or what teams are going to do. I mean, even most teams don't know what they're doing yet because there's so many, trade opportunities. You're not sure which players are going to be left on the board. Every team really has a completely different big board, and so it really makes draft night, exhausting and exciting at the same time. And as far as free agency goes, that's where things are tough. These team owners are really worried about the financials, with the backlash of the pandemic and whatnot. And so I'm interested to see how this free agent market, unfolds. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of teams, playing it pretty conservatively.
When's free agency start? Is that going to come after the draft? I mean, when?
Yeah, I believe it's is it the 22nd? I mean, it's right after the draft. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. I believe it's the 22nd.
Man, are teams fans of that? Wouldn't you like to hit the free agent market first, and then base what you need to draft after that, or is drafting first and then filling it with free agents better? How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to have free agency first. That way teams are able to draft knowing what they have in place. Sometimes teams have felt pressure to, say draft a point guard because their backup point guard is a free agent. They don't know if he's going to return, stuff like that. And, it ends up being a little disorganized in my opinion. But I don't think it's too big of a deal either way, to be honest.
Can't believe we had you on this long and this name hasn't come up. LaMelo Ball, go.
LaMelo, he's been struggling with his interviews. It seems like a lot of people have kind of soured on him quite a bit. Obviously, he's been the media and the public sweetheart all year of, people talking about, potential number one pick. I have heard his name is still being considered by Golden State. If Golden State were to pass on him, I could see him slipping all the way to number 7 to Detroit. And so, draft night, I mean, just with the LaMelo Ball situation, that's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, we've seen the circus that is the Ball family with the Flying to the Hoop high school basketball showcase here in Dayton, Ohio, when him and his family came in when their high school or when his team played here a few years ago. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he struggles in those interview things. Let's just put it that way. Now, so you have Obi at 5. Why the Cavs? Why are they a good fit? And why would the Hornets and I guess the Warriors, I mean, they're in a good spot, but why would these other teams, why do you have him falling past those teams? What are some of the guys that you have going to the teams in front of him bring to the table that Obi doesn't, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I already brought up Minnesota, but Golden State, it sounds like Obi is one of the names that's been discussed there. It's just my gut's telling me that they're going to select somebody else. As far as with Charlotte, I mean, I think if they went with Obi, it would be a big commitment to extreme small ball, which it doesn't sound like they want to do. They drafted P.J. Washington last year, who plays the 4, who's really done well and has given a lot of promise. Chicago, I mean, they. It wouldn't shock me if they looked at him hard. But they've got Lauri Markkanen, they got Wendell Carter. Might be too many cooks in the kitchen if they added Obi. As far as with Cleveland, the last 2 years they've used their lottery picks on guard with Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, and so there's sort of in a rebuilding mode here, and I think they've got flexibility to add some different guys. And so even though they got Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson, Larry Nance, I think Obi could be their power forward of the future. And, an easy commute for him from Dayton, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what a lot of fans are really hoping for as far as that goes. Now, we've had this debate a lot and this discussion a lot about a player comp for Obi Toppin. I've heard from Kenyon Martin to Amari Stoudemire. When you look at the NBA today, and again, obviously his game's going to fit in just fine, but what's a player comp that you have that maybe we haven't heard yet? We've heard Kenyon Martin, Amari Stoudemire. What's a current player comp that you would have for him?
Yeah, I brought up the Amari Stoudemire, comparison before. I actually thought about that when I was in Hawaii at the Maui Invitational. And I mean, just his explosiveness and finishing at the rim or way above the rim is similar to Amari. I think the big difference, and a lot of it is just the style of play today, as opposed to when Amari was in his prime, is Obi really shoots the ball from outside. So the combination of him being a finisher at the rim, but also being able to step outside and kind of be a guy that can get some trail threes and pick and pop actions. He actually offensively reminds me a lot of John Collins with the Hawks. Mm-hmm. And John Collins is going to be a free agent. I think he's probably going to be a max player. And so, I have extremely high hopes for Obi, and I think John Collins is a pretty good comp for him.
Yeah, you talked about the Hawks. That's the team. I mean, you talked the Amari Stoudemire comparison. I was like, well, that's why him and Trae Young would be absolutely perfect together. And there are guards in Cleveland. I worry about him going to Cleveland just because it's Cleveland. But man, I would love to see. I mean, Obi just with the way the floor space is in Golden State, he would just thrive there. I mean, there's so many different situations that would vary from team to team. Send us out with this. We know all the reasons why Obi is going to be drafted high, but what are some things going against him? What are some things that scouts are saying that maybe there's this part of his game that teams aren't a fan of right now?
The defensive side of things, it is definitely not his strength. I mean, he's a pretty stiff guy, even though he's so explosive. His lateral quickness isn't great. A lot of things are brought up about his stiff hips and stuff like that. I'm not overly concerned with it. I don't think most NBA people are. The media and the public and all these independent scouts, they bring it up a whole lot. But I don't really think there are any really glaring weaknesses with him. He's in this first tier of guys, and it's just a matter of these teams figuring out who fits what they're doing best. And so, talent-wise, I think he's as good as anybody in this draft, and he's going to find himself in a good spot. I think, if for some reason Cleveland were to pass on him, I think every single pick after that is going to strongly consider him, just because he's probably going to be the best player on the board.
All right, as we send you out, give everyone a little information about Babcock Hoops and where they can access your latest mock drafts, as well as all your content heading in to the NBA draft on November 18th.
Yeah, no, you follow me on Twitter at MattBabcock11, then on our site, BabcockHoops.com, and then I also contribute to BasketballNews.com as well as CBS Sports HQ. And so just doing a lot of draft coverage, and we're right in the thick of it right now with less than 2 weeks till the draft.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we're excited to be talking some basketball finally, at least for college, that is. So thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right, good stuff there. Matt Babcock, we'll have that interview coming up here around the corner. If you have questions, 457-9464. We'll open up the phone lines once more. But again, the NBA draft coming up on November 18th, and the latest mock draft for Matt Babcock, he has Obi Toppin going number 5. To the Cleveland Cavaliers. And my big thing about going number 5 is I'm just not a fan of him going to Cleveland from, a drive or whatever. I mean, I would love for that, just to be able to go watch him play in Cleveland, but from a growth standpoint, from a developmental standpoint, not a fan of him going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Garland, Sexton, those guys who the Cavs have drafted the last couple of years, that's fine. But again, I just don't look at that roster and think that he can go there and thrive. I think you look at a team like Atlanta where he'd play alongside Trae Young would be huge. The Golden State Warriors, the floor spacing, allowing him to really showcases his athleticism and taking advantage of those open lanes. Our opinions haven't varied on that. And I thought it was interesting. He said that there's a lot of reports out there of the Timberwolves looking to move on from that number 1 overall pick, and which team could potentially try to jump into the mix.
Man, that seems very weird, man. We always think about overall number 1 pick, a lot guy, I just don't see that guy in this draft that says oh man, we gotta have him, he's gonna change our franchise. I just don't see that. I see a lot of good basketball players where if you stand pat, you're gonna get one of them. So that's how I would feel about it. I don't know about trading up for it.
Yeah, this is going to be the draft where you find that Donovan Mitchell, or you find that, we're always looking. I mean, Anthony Edwards, we're looking at right there at the top. I mean, here locally, we're all about, of course, Obi Toppin. But I mean, when you look around this draft, it is not the deepest draft. There isn't an Anthony Davis. There's not, obviously a Zion Williams. There's not that talent that everyone is saying, oh, that's a franchise, altering draft pick or draft selection right there, as far as that's concerned. The 457-9464. Who we got? Just send me to somebody.
We're gonna send you to your buddy.
Which one? Just Charlie?
Gentlemen.
Hey, Charlie.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, Justin Kenner. I actually agree with something you said about basketball.
And I'm surprised you know anything about basketball.
No, man. Come on, bro.
I know.
You know that's wrong. I'm always right about basketball, Dustin. Come on.
All right.
But you're absolutely right about, man, I'd love to see Obi Toppin in Golden State. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, his athleticism alongside Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the spacing there. Obviously, you have Draymond Green there too. But I mean, my goodness, and plus they're just so well coached. They buy into the system. I think that he would fit in perfectly there. But it sounds like, I mean, we have no clue where he's going to end up. He can go as high as 1 or 2, and he can drop to 6, 7, or 8. I mean, we don't know where Obi could potentially end up. But every team right now that you read there, which players they're looking at, Obi is on the list of every one of these, as he should be.
Oh, I agree. I just don't see Golden State. I have to disagree with your guest. I don't see Golden State taking LaMelo Ball. Why would they want that?
He has the Warriors taking James Wiseman.
Oh, well, that makes some sense too. But man, I'd love to see Obi on that team. He would get so many rolls to the rim; it would be unbelievable. And his shooting fits in with what they do too. I don't know. I think they're going to pick him. I really do. If it's not Wiseman, I think they take Obi.
Yeah,
I really do. So that would make the most sense. But I just had to call. I mean, I'm driving along, almost wrecked my car. I agree with Justin Kenner on basketball. Holy crap!
Well, don't do that. Don't wreck the car. I'm curious. If the Timberwolves end up trading that away, I mean, who would trade up to get that number 1 overall pick? I mean, that would be the next thing I'm interested in. If I'm the Knicks, don't bite on that. This isn't a draft. Like, there's no one in this draft that is going to turn that franchise around. So the Knicks just need to stay put. I would look at a playoff team that could look to maybe move up in the draft and acquire one of these young guys. That would make sense to me.
It would depend on what you had to give up, though.
That's true. But again, I'm really not. Yeah, if you're Miami, if you are Boston, if you're a team like that have had your same roster, not really Miami, because they're still interested in trying to see how far they could take that. But if you're Boston, you got to look at that roster and say, wait, do we need to make some kind of change here? What do we need to do? But I don't think that any of the one at the top of the draft is going to alter the direction of the franchise either. So I don't know. I don't even see Timberwolves moving on from that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to bite on that, man. There's nobody there to say, I got to have them. I need them. This is going to take me over the top. This is going to make our franchise for the next 10, 15 years. There's not a guy like that out there. Unless Anthony Edwards is D-Wade, like they say, that's his comp is D-Wade, unless you're going to get Dwayne Wade Part 2 and Anthony Edwards.
Why do we do that with player comps? And I do it too. Why do we give them player comps of these superstars, so that when they don't look like them, then we say, oh, they're not let's just give them let's take some average players in the NBA, compare them to them, so that when they outperform them, we just think, oh man.
Because chances are that's what they're going to be. They're going to be an average player because the league is made up mostly of role players.
So there you go, Jerry.
Well, and the media's got to hype up these bad teams and give their fan bases some kind of hope, right? I mean, that's the only reason I can explain it.
And they cover the draft, so
they got to make it exciting, right? I mean, see the next Dwayne Wade drafted, right? Exactly. All right, gentlemen.
Adios, Jerry.
Matter of fact, we didn't even know Dwayne Wade was going to be Dwayne Wade. You know what I mean?
We thought Darko Milicic was going to be. Can you imagine if the Detroit Pistons would have selected Carmelo Anthony instead of Darko Milicic? If they would have selected Dwayne Wade instead of Darko Milicic, and by the way,
think of that every June when LeBron's hosting another trophy. I could say, man, Melo could at least had one.
Well, that legendary draft class, Darko Milicic was the first to hoist an NBA trophy.
That draft class, there's only 2 guys still in the league.
Man, what was the stretch before LeBron got his? They had a list of the most embarrassing NBA players that had a ring before LeBron did. I think Darko was at the top.
So unfair. So unfair. So unfair, dude.
Yeah. All right, 457-9464. We see some guys on hold. We're going to get to your calls on the other side.
Charlie on the line. We got Ed on the line.
We got some more coming in, so we're going to get to them. We got Milano's coming in too, by the way. So we're going to eat and talk some more college basketball around the corner. We got plenty going on. By the way, got some, Wright State, the Horizon League had their stuff come out today. They dominated in those preseason polls, but not just Wright State, but a couple local players here. Some players from Trotwood, some players from Wayne. Horizon League first team. We're going to talk about those guys coming up around the corner too. So I'm so pumped at the college basketball season.
Love basketball.
All right, we'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations, serving the greater Dayton and Cincinnati area, is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase. Visit on Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com and upgrade today.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Hi, Joey Beckett here at Buckeye Ford in Sydney, home of the Works Package and the Double Take Tire Specials. Call today for your appointment, 937-419-8473 or 1-800-700-0050. Buckeye Ford in Sydney, exit 92 off of I-75. We'll see you soon.
College football, it's the game you wake up early on Saturdays for, even though kickoff isn't until 7. The game where the Goodyear blimp becomes a Hall of Famer. The game that goes just beyond school spirit, fandom, or love of the sport. It's the game where the comebacks happen. It's the game where anything can and will happen as long as you have the drive. Because college football is the game that moves you. We get it because it moves us too. Goodyear, more driven.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
With the $10 Tastemaker from Pizza Hut, I can get a large with up to 3 toppings, so I don't have to pick between them. Nope, don't need that stress in my life. Order yours online at pizzahut.com. No one out-pizzas the Hut. Prices and participation may vary. Extra charge for pan, stuffed crust, extra cheese, and more toppings.
This is time that matters. A window of time to help protect the ones you love. Your preteen benefits from staying up to date with their well visits. This is your window of protection. Schedule their well visit now. Brought to you by Merck.
I'm Dr. Baker, an ER physician. If you're having leg pain, swelling, or redness, but haven't talked to your doctor yet, don't wait. This could be deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot which could travel to your lungs and lead to a pulmonary embolism, which could cause chest pain or discomfort or difficulty breathing and be deadly. Your symptoms can mean something serious, so don't wait. Talk to a doctor right away, by phone, online, or in person.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
Hi, this is Paul Keels, voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep your home comfort system running smoothly and efficiently with regular checkups from Butler Heating and Air Conditioning. Butler has been proudly serving the Miami Valley since 1949. Don't wait until your equipment breaks. Call Butler today at 937-253-8871. That's 937-253-8871. Go Butler and go Bucks.
Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle is your local authorized dealer for the Hustler mower family. Stop in today and take a look at the new Hustler Super Z Hyperdrive, ready to take on the big jobs. The Super Z Hyperdrive features Hustler's exclusive Hyperdrive transmission system, the largest, most durable drive system in the industry, and it's backed by a 3,000-hour drive system warranty. Hustler, tools, not toys. Visit Small Engine Service Pros at 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
Strict attention to detail. That's what sets Kubota construction equipment apart. It's how we maximize performance, increase strength, and give you the dependability you demand. We engineer our equipment precisely at every level. It's what makes us a leader. Save up to $11,000 on construction equipment or get 0% APR financing for 60 months. After December 31st, 2020. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Professional painters know waiting between coats for trim, doors, and cabinets to dry is time out of your day and money out of your pocket. Bare Premium Cabinet and Trim Enamel from the Home Depot lets you finish faster. With excellent flow and leveling, it dries to the touch in 1 hour, and less dry time means less downtime. Bare Premium Cabinet and Trim Enamel, just $39.98 a gallon, and that's before the Pro Extra discount. Only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Available in-store and online.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contact us to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Out here, falling leaves and cooler weather means Tractor Supply Black Friday prices are here. Shop thousands of items, including gun safes, pet supplies, Christmas decor and tools, as well as brands like Purina, Carhartt, and DeWalt. And shop safer and easier with our mobile app and curbside pickup. It's the season to save out here with our Black Friday prices, now through Sunday. Around the corner at your local Tractor Supply or TractorSupply.com. Tractor Supply, for life out here.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
College football, it's the game you wake up early on Saturdays for, even though kickoff isn't until 7. The game where the Goodyear blimp becomes a Hall of Famer. The game that goes just beyond school, spirit, fandom, or love of the sport. It's the game where the comebacks happen. It's the game where anything can and will happen, as long as you have the drive. Because college football is the game that moves you. We get it because it moves us too. Goodyear, more driven.
The spread of COVID-19 is still unchecked across the nation, and you need to keep your family safe. Make a new habit and check your temperatures twice a day, once before dinner and before leaving home in the morning. You can't afford to take chances, so use the Exergen Temporal Scanner. Its accuracy is backed by more than 80 clinical studies, and it takes an accurate reading in seconds. It's the only home thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Quick and easy to use. You can count on Exergen to keep your family safe 24 hours a day.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app anytime, anywhere. Listen to more than 300 stations along with more than 3,000 podcasts from your home area or across the U.S., all free.
With the radio.com app.
Hi, Joey Beckett here at Buckeye Ford in Sydney, home of the Works package and the double take tire specials. Call today for your appointment. 937-419-8473 or 1-800-700-0050. Buckeye Ford in Sydney, exit 92 off of I-75. We'll see you soon.
Susie, I love you. Your skin is soft, like a fresh leather interior.
Oh, Joe.
Your smell is intoxicating, like that of a new tire.
You always know how to make me blush.
So this year I got you something special.
Tires! Touring tires with an asymmetrical tread design.
Yeah, and a free alignment with standard installation.
It's just what I've always wanted.
Susie doesn't know that Joe saved $150 at Tire Discounters. This holiday, say it with tires.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
Oh, what? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on a Thursday. We're going to get to our Week 9 NFL picks. How the hell is it Thursday already?
Yeah, buddy.
Week 9, no Browns, no Bengals this week. Like I said, that's horrible. Like, you need one or the other. I could be a Bengals fan for a weekend. I could be a Bengals fan for a weekend.
Yeah, you got a jersey still.
I wore it for an hour. Yes.
Whoa. Man up, man.
I did. I wore the damn thing. I wore the dang thing. All right, who we got on hold? Is that Ed at the top?
Yeah, Ed is here.
Let's go to Ed. Ed, you've been patient, my friend. How are you, sir?
Hey, pretty good.
What you got for us?
On the air?
Yeah.
Actually, I had you guys on hold and had to drop you off, and I called back. So, as far as the NBA draft goes, I haven't heard much about it. Is it tonight?
No, November 18th, less than 2 weeks away.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
So it's November 18th. So for those just tuning in, we just had Matt Babcock on from Babcock Hoops. Again, he's a former NBA agent, NBA draft analyst. He had his latest mock draft out. He has Obi Toppin going number 5 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But what's crazy about this is that when you look at it, the NBA draft is on the 18th, free agency is on the 22nd, and the NBA season tips off on December 22nd. These rookies usually get drafted. You have time to work out with your team. You work out with your new teammates. You get to do summer league. You're drafted on the 18th, and the season's potentially tipping off on December 22nd. I mean, I don't know. This isn't a good situation for the rookies. It's really not a good situation for a lot of guys. There's some guys that haven't played since March.
Well, yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't want them to see them go to the Cavs. The Golden State would be perfect for them. But I want to touch on college football just a little bit.
Yeah, no problem.
Have you guys watched? I haven't seen Cincinnati play in their 6. Are they really that good?
They're good, but this is what Kevin and I run into all the time. Are they good? Yes. How good are they? It's easier to look good against the opponents they have every week. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you don't need to see somebody play somebody to know that they are somebody. But the college football playoff is never about the 4 best teams. The college football playoff is always about the 4 best resumes. And at the end of the day, I don't care how much talent Cincinnati has. their resume can't touch anybody's, and it's not their fault. You can only play who's in front of you. But to me, we need to stop saying, well, how good is Cincinnati? It doesn't matter how good they are. No matter how good they are, it does not change their resume. In the college football playoff, to be fair, without me trolling, it's always been about the 4 best resumes and not about the 4 best teams. If that's the case, Ohio State would have made the playoffs the 3 years that they missed it, to the Michigan State year that they lost, and the Purdue and Iowa. They were one of the 4 best teams all 3 of those years. It's about the resumes. That's all that matters.
Right. What didn't they beat SMU and they were ranked maybe like 18th?
They beat Memphis and
they beat SMU. They were
I mean, they blew
3-point underdog.
When they blew SMU out, I'm like, damn, they must be pretty good. They blew out 18, but who is number 7 right now? I haven't looked at the polls.
Texas A&M. So you have Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5, Cincinnati 6, at least according to the AP Top 25. The coaches poll, pretty much it's the same thing, and Texas A&M coming in at 7. So, and like that's the thing. So I look at Florida, for instance, who's 3-1, and no one's going to have pity for an SEC team. I get it. Florida's only loss is at number 21, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And then you look at Cincinnati,
Florida's behind Cincinnati. I don't think they could beat Florida.
So, I mean, maybe they could, but in the big scheme of things, when the College Football Playoff Committee sits down, I don't know if they have those conversations or not. They map out the strength of schedule. They map out the style points, the eye point. That's the problem I have with Cincinnati in the playoff. It's just that. Like, it's not even about whether I think they're good or not. It's just a matter of who they play. I can't get over that. I don't think that's being petty. It's about resumes. And Kev, I'll let you jump in on this too.
I think that's important. Also, like resume, I think it's a combination of, how good they are, their resume, and style points. And style points is something that really matters. And these last couple weeks, UC has blown their opponent out, not only being an underdog versus SMU when they blew them out by 30, but they also blew this most recent opponent out. They have to blow teams out. You know what I'm saying? We saw UCF blowing opponents out, and they still didn't make it. But in a COVID year, the only thing you can do if you're not in the Power 5 conference is, 1, win all your games. Then the second thing you have to do is blow people out.
Yep.
And then hope that basically everybody else gets 2 losses.
Right.
And then that way, like, the argument is there to say, like, all right, man, we got to give them a shot. So I do. Unfortunately, I agree with Kenner. He's right. Like, it's been proven that if you're not in the Power 5, you're on the outside looking in always at the college football playoff. But in the unique year that this is, where there's going to be, we just saw the cancellation of the Washington Cal game that just broke today. Pac-12 haven't even got started in their canceling games. In a unique year like this, what UC is betting on is, 1, they go undefeated and more wacky things happen. Say, I don't know, there's only 2 undefeated teams from the Power 5, and then everybody else got 2 losses from the Power 5, and the Power 5 champions that have multiple losses, then they can have an argument to be invited to the party. But until then, I think they're really just playing for, the pride of the university themselves, trying to put on good tape to make it to the NFL. Fickle's trying to put on a great coaching display to go to another school. Like, that's what this is. This was all about.
Do you think they don't have any top 15 teams left on the schedule, right? Are they done with their even?
They don't, as of right now. They have, like, UCF is supposed to be a potential top 25 opponent. They are no longer top 25. They have no top 25 games remaining. Yeah. So that's the problem. Is down the stretch when you have Alabama with Georgia, and you have they've already played Georgia, but when you have Alabama,
they can play Georgia again.
Yeah, like Notre Dame, they're still going to have some games against some better opponents. So that's just the tough thing. 42-13, the win over number 16 SMU. 49-10 over Memphis. But they have Houston, Eastern Carolina coming up, UCF, Temple, and Tulsa. I mean, how can you take those 4 matchups, not the Cincinnati team? Forget how good they are. I believe they're good. But I don't know how you could take the 4 opponents that they have left, or 5 opponents that they have left, and match it up with what a one-loss Notre Dame is going to be going up against, and trying to convince me that Notre Dame wouldn't be undefeated as well if they had Cincinnati's schedule.
Right, Notre Dame with 1 loss gets in over an undefeated UC, then that pretty much does it, right?
Yep. But to be fair, there's more of a path for Cincinnati to get in this year. Again, we're saying that without really seeing the Pac-12 play yet, which the game's already been canceled in the Pac-12. So it's going to be interesting.
This week,
look at it this way. Notre Dame might have 2 losses. They got to play Clemson twice. Notre Dame, I've watched them. I don't think they're that great. They had a close game with a non-ranked team. But if they get
well, Ohio State had a close half with Nebraska.
Right. If they get knocked back, that would open the door maybe for Cincinnati if Notre Dame loses 2 games. So we'll see what happens.
But all right, Ed, good hearing from you, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, you guys take it easy. Thanks.
Yep. 457-9464. We're going to get, we have if our college football playoff poll came out today, we have what that'll look like. We're going to get to that coming up around the corner as far as that goes. But we'll keep an eye on how that's going to go. But yeah, when we get back and forth, I always roll my eyes at Cincinnati. But at the end of the day, they are a team that it doesn't matter how good they are. It just matters how good the opponents are that they play. The resume just doesn't stack up. But there's a path to get in, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like Texas A&M, the chances of them going undefeated the rest of the way, it's very slim. It's not guaranteed. They're going to pick up a loss. If there was a year for the committee to maybe flirt with putting a non-Power 5 in, this would be it. But then all the pressure would be on Cincinnati to not just win, but to not get blown out. You can't go if Cincinnati gets in and you go play Clemson in the college football playoff, you can't lose 45-0.
Right.
Now, you're probably saying, well, what about Oklahoma? They got blown out last year. No one's doubted. Well, maybe we doubted if they should be in or not. But there's so much pressure on Cincinnati because they're not just representing their school. They're not just representing their conference. They are representing the little guy.
Yeah.
They are representing every team, every conference that is not labeled as a Power 5. There's so much pressure that if Cincinnati goes in and just gets embarrassed, I promise you the committee will probably never kick the tires on that again. So be careful what you ask for.
Well, in the Kenner universe, an 11-point loss is a blowout.
Again, when you're talking about this would be completely different. You know it.
So hypothetical. UC gets into the college football playoff. They're playing Clemson number 1. They're number 4. What is a respectable score? What is a respectable score to say, you know what, they belonged in the college football playoff?
I don't know. It's about the look, too, because if you're going into the fourth quarter and it's 28-14, and then Clemson ends up just putting their foot on their throat in the fourth quarter, and then they pull away 55-17 or 55-21, I could say, okay, it's about the look of the game or whatever. But, let's be clear. But the fact that we're having that conversation already shows that we're doubting how Cincinnati matches up with the Clemson. Last year, we thought Luke Fickell had a very good Cincinnati team. Mm-hmm. And he did have a very good Cincinnati team. What happened when he went up against what many thought should have been the number 1 team in the college football playoff in Ohio State last year was 45-0. So how can you convince me that, they deserve to be in? Well, okay, but the college football playoff's not about deserving. It's about the resume. It's about the eye test, all that stuff.
And that's what makes college football so unique, because we can look at what happened with Green Bay versus Tampa Bay, and they got their doors blown off. But in 5-6 weeks, they could be playing in the NFC Championship game and nobody cares. That's what makes college football unique. One game tells the story of your whole season if it doesn't go your way. That's just how it is. It's
level playing field in the NFL. Some rosters are better than others, but you take the worst roster in the NFL, like let's say Cincinnati. Just joking. You take the worst roster in the NFL, the Jets, and you put them up against the Chiefs. We just saw that this past week. That's the worst roster in football against arguably the best. Maybe you could argue the Buccaneers, but they actually need to get on the field. Okay, Ron, Ron keeps, what about the Buccaneers? What about the Buccaneers? They exist on paper. I've yet to see them all out on the field at the same time. So you had the Chiefs against the Jets, the best team in football versus the worst team in football. It was a blowout, but you could still see that there were. They didn't just have their way with the Jets, and that's the worst team in football. You can have Cincinnati, who's not the worst team in football, just get absolutely boat raced by an Ohio State to Cincinnati, the talent gap. And that's just ultimately what it comes down to. So there you
go. Go Bearcats.
All right. 457-946. Was that DoorDash Ray? DoorDash Ray, is that you?
It is me. What's going on?
Another day in paradise. What's going on with you?
You know what? Did you just hear Kevin a few minutes ago say, unfortunately, I have to agree with him?
It's to see what I deal with. You see what I deal with.
Man, look, I tried to get in last week, and I called because, you know what, you were being your very polite, cordial, agreeable. Right.
I'm a nice guy.
Right self. And I was agreeing with you. I told Kev, because I just had a short minute, because I said, listen, are you listening to your boss over there? Because, you know what?
I'm not his boss. Let's be clear. I'm not his boss.
what I mean is that we need to be more in agreement with you because you know what? You are right.
You know what? I am his boss. You know what? I like you, DoorDash, Ray.
Got it on break.
No, keep going,
Now,
DoorDash.
Do you think, which I don't think it did, but with the tournament getting canceled last year, do you think that hurt some of these guys in their draft status? I mean, I know Obi's going number 5, number 6, like they said, but do you think that tournament kind of hurt a little bit with some of these guys? Because, I mean, we already knew how talented and how good they were, but do you think they might have moved up a little bit if they would have had the tournament?
If this draft was deeper, this draft doesn't have Zion. This draft doesn't have like that the face of the like. It's kind of a weak draft. It's a role player galore draft, which is fine. Right. You need role players, but you know the teams that role players help more are the teams further back in the draft. Mm-hmm. Teams that have their stars set. The problem at the top of the draft outside of Golden State is a lot of these teams don't have their stars set. So when you are bringing in a guy like if Obi goes to the Cavs, when you draft a guy number 5 overall, fan base is like, oh, cool, you have high expectations for him, but you can't come in and be a star on a team that doesn't have a star. It doesn't work that way, so that's going to be the problem. To answer your question about the NCAA tournament, did it hurt anybody? I don't think it did. I think it could have only helped guys. I don't think it hurt guys not having it. Like Obi Toppin was already established as the top player in college basketball without the NCAA tournament. Had he though? You had a chance to see Dayton go up against the big boys, and then him do to them what he did against the A-10, because that was what everyone kept talking about. You look at Garza from Iowa. Everyone kept talking about how he should have been Player of the Year instead of Toppin because he went against an NCAA tournament caliber team every single night. We would have got to see Obi go up against guys like that. He would have done to them what he did to the A-10 all year, and then there would have been no doubt about it. So it could have helped Obi, but it didn't hurt Obi that he didn't have a chance to play in the NCAA tournament. But he would have loved it, and we would have loved it too.
I didn't think it actually hurt them, like especially people who are already established, but I was just curious about that. And also, I have a hard time understanding why no one's mentioning the Las Vegas Raiders on your program anymore because, we're a pretty good team.
Gentlemen.
Listen, we put the hurt down on Cleveland this past week, and I think we deserve a little bit of love on this show.
Time out. Hold up. You didn't put the hurt on Cleveland. You won 6. You put the 16-6. That's not putting the hurt on anybody.
Tell him, Ray.
It was 16-6.
6 points.
16.
Against a team that was 5-1.
5-2.
I mean, well, I'm just saying. Now, they're a good team, and everybody's talking about. I even talked about them a couple weeks to you, saying, you know what? Hey, they look good. I was giving them some respect because I think they deserve it. But I think we just showed them who was boss this past week. I mean, I'm still gloating about it. We got to the Chargers this weekend, but who knows what's going to happen?
You got your hands full. You have the best rookie quarterback in the NFL with the Chargers, Justin Herbert.
Well, we'll see.
Now, you promised me. You called in saying how Kinner was right. You called in saying how Kinner knew what he was talking about. I'm telling you, Justin Herbert's the best rookie quarterback in the National Football League right now, and now you're going to start doubting Kinner.
Is he better? Is he better than Burrow?
Well, he doesn't have more yards than Burrow, but outside of that, everything else is just top notch.
Okay.
That little tone was not really directed towards you, but you were the one on the line. So
I understand. One last thing. I got to go to Chattanooga tomorrow till Monday. You ever been there? Where's a good spot to go eat? What should I expect in Chattanooga, Tennessee? Anything at all?
I don't really camp out in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
It's close to Atlanta.
It's on this. They might have a hotel there that you could stop and then wake up the next day and head to Atlanta.
Yeah, just go to Atlanta.
Chattanooga.
I'm gonna get you guys some lookout hats for the Lookout, that little AA affiliate for the Reds, because I think they're pretty neat. I'm gonna get you guys a couple for Christmas, and whenever I do happen to see you, I'm gonna present them to you and say thank you for all your good work and all that good stuff. But I'm gonna get you guys a present this weekend. You're all getting Chattanooga Lookout hats. So
look out. All right. Hey, take care, man. Appreciate it.
We'll see you.
All right, 457-9464. By the way, Tyler Schroeder says, so an 11-point loss is a blowout, but 10 points is a close one. Good logic, Kinner. Speaking of good logic, Schroeder, by the way, great hearing from you, pal. How you doing? Because he's a Titans fan. How them Titans faring this week? I kept hearing how Ryan Tannehill, he's the greatest thing that's ever lived. I believe my guy Baker, he looked like the next coming of Tom Brady against that Bengals defense 2 weeks ago. Ryan Tannehill, what happened? Oh, he says, ha, 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 I'm fine with the Titans. Where have you been, though? It's Thursday, Schrody. You coward. You're a coward. I can't believe you're going to sit here. You're going to talk smack to me, Schrody, 4 days after.
Here we go again.
That embarrassment.
Here we go.
Yeah, he says Tannehill is better than Baher. I don't know who Bager is, or Jer. Who's Baher? I'm sure he's better than Baher, but you know what? He's not better than Baker. Except, he struggled against the Raiders, only put up 6 points. But, hey, receivers catch the damn ball. Nick Chubb, get healthy. Teller, get your ass back on that line. OBJ, happy birthday. We might be okay. We might be okay.
Get well soon. Get well soon.
The Schrody says he's been working. You should try it sometime. You know what's funny, though? The Schrody, you're like the Titans version of the True American. You only seem to be working after losses. And by the way, the True American, if you're listening, I know you work all the time. Don't get angry. I respect your work you do. I know you're a union guy, dude. Relax. But Schrody, his team loses on Sunday. He disappears for days at a time. But had they beat the Titans or beat the Bengals, he'd be chirping Monday. He'd be chirping Sunday. He disappeared. Just like the True American. When the Browns lose, we don't hear from him. But when they win, he's working first shift that day, brother. Come on. And I love the True American. I have to say that because he'll kill me. No, I appreciate it. He came out to the show last Sunday.
Really?
Yes.
Live.
He was there. Geriatric Jerry was there.
Oh, goodness.
Let's see who. We had Reggie came out. Go Browns. That's the guys who bring some more stuff out to sign. I didn't sign it, of course. I would ruin the 41 jerseys if I signed them. So, Schrody says it was different. It's election year. Super busy being a mailman. Yeah, Schrody, why don't you work on getting them, ballots there quicker?
Yo, and on that note.
Schrody, I love you.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. I can see where this is going.
Blame Schrody, baby. Blame him. Why were, the election was 2 days ago. We still don't know. It's because Schrody he delayed all the mail getting delivered. Come on. Ron Howard says, don't insult TB12. What else? What does the other dumb comment Ron made? He said, Bucks handled Raiders. Browns got waxed by them. First of all, they did not get waxed by them. And besides, how'd the Bucks do this past Monday? Sure, they got a win. But, my goodness. It was the Giants, Ron. Aye. Schrody said, ha, we are still getting ballots. Oh, man. All right, we'll be back. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Next, we got this Milanos to dive into.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a high near 68. Tonight's going to be mostly to partly cloudy with a low around 45. And tomorrow will be mainly clear with a high near 70. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for a table at a restaurant.
Thompson, party of 4. Thompson, party of 4. Thompson, oh, there you are.
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
College football, it's the game you wake up early on Saturdays for, even though kickoff isn't until 7. The game where the Goodyear blimp becomes a Hall of Famer. The game that goes just beyond school, spirit, fandom, or love of the sport. It's the game where the comebacks happen. It's the game where anything can and will happen as long as you have the drive. Because college football is the game that moves you. We get it because it moves us too. Goodyear, more driven.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
Good night.
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
Napa know-how. At Napa, you can get 20% off 3 or more items with the $4.99 Napa Tool Bag. Yep, 20% off power tools, 20% off wipers, 20% off oil, and more. It's a whole bag of tricks. Well, actually, it's one trick over and over again, but it's a good one, saving you 20% on 3 or more items. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. Napa know-how. At participating locations, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 11/30/20.
Try Vicks VapoCool Drops in Honey Lemon Chill for a fast-acting relief of honey lemon. Not to mention a soothing chill. So remember, Vicks VapoCool Drops are honey lemon and honey lemon. Honey lemon. Yeah, honey lemon chill. Get fast-acting relief with Vicks VapoCool Drops in Honey Lemon Chill. Use as directed.
Hi, this is Paul Keels, voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep your home comfort system running smoothly and efficiently with regular checkups from Butler Heating and Air Conditioning. Butler has been proudly serving the Miami Valley since 1949. Don't wait until your equipment breaks. Call Butler today at 937-253-8871. That's 937-253-8871. Go Butler and go Bucks.
People are talking about Carol Wirtz Tire and Auto Service.
We've been taking our cars to Carol Wirtz for several years. Our experience is always outstanding. Every employee truly cares about the safety of your car and making sure you are satisfied. They are trustworthy and treat you like family. Thank you, Carol Wirtz, for always taking care of me and my family and making sure we are safe.
Carol Wirtz Tire and Auto Service treats every vehicle like their own and each customer like family. Call 937-461-5441 or visit c-wtire.com.
All those mouths to feed. So many different cravings.
In a world filled with endless dinner options, lives a family ravaged by hunger. The answer lies with one man. No, not just a man, a king, a pizza king.
Get a large Casano's Deluxe Pizza for $15.99 or a large pepperoni for just $12.99. Call 294-KING and see for yourself why the proof is in the taste.
Pizza King.
If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with Paper Mile Insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote.
Whether it's betting on the big game, catching up on bills, or saving up for the holidays, we could all use a little extra cash this time of year. Hey, how does $1,000 sound? It's the ESPN Dayton hashtag We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Listen for the word that wins every hour, starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Enter the word at wingam.com for your chance to win $1,000. It's the ESPN Dayton We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
College basketball season is supposed to tip off less than 3 weeks from now, which that's pretty exciting. And this week, today, the Horizon League preseason polls came out. Wright State, 37 first-place votes. They are deemed the favorites to win the Horizon League here in 2020-2021. In fact, the Horizon League schedule came out yesterday. Very weird scheduling model. The home team will host the same team back-to-back nights or back-to-back days. And there's going to be one team in the Horizon League that won't play everybody. So it's like, so Wright State has to play at Northern Kentucky back-to-back nights to close out the season, but they don't have to go to Green Bay. But today with the preseason awards coming out. They dominated that. Again, Loudon Love, preseason player of the year and named to the Horizon League first team. And then, of course, they win. They're voted as the Horizon League preseason favorite. Third straight season that they've been in that spot. They had 37 first place votes, and it really wasn't even close as far as that go. They should have won that last year. They, the virus hit, and we never got to focus on how embarrassing they looked in that Horizon League tournament. I talked so much smack, got so excited that Rice they could make the tournament. You have UD in the tournament. Maybe they would get cute and pair them up together. Oh, no. You got to be able to beat the Horizon League teams to be able to get there, and that didn't happen. But we'll see again. Loudon's the only senior on that roster.
And he can come back next year, right?
And he technically could come back next year as far as that goes. One thing I thought was interesting, too, so a local tie-in here, the Horizon League preseason first team has 2 local kids on that roster as well, or on that pairing as well. Darius Quisenberry from Wayne plays at Youngstown State with the Penguins. He's named a Horizon League first team. And then one of my favorite players that I've ever watched high school here, within the last couple is Amari Davis. Amari Davis plays for the Green Bay Phoenix, and of course played at Trotwood, led them to a state championship. All that kid does is win. He's a winner, and I'm excited. I love watching him grow. And it was fun last year watching when Green Bay came back to the Nutter Center to play Wright State. He had a whole fan section that took up a whole row or a whole section right there. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, a lot of good local talent in the Horizon League, which drives me nuts. But as we talked about earlier, I'm like, I'm not gonna knock it. I'm not gonna question Coach Nagy because his team just had 37 first place votes. So as long as they're winning that conference and dominating the conference, fine. But imagine if that roster who just had 37 first-place votes to win that conference, if you had the other 2 guys, 2 of the other guys, because Loudon Love is in that first team.
Yeah.
You would have had Darius Quisenberry and Amari Davis. Ooh.
Tourney action. Tourney and winning games if you had them 2 dudes.
Yeah.
But
Dominic guard play.
Like we said, can't complain because we're winning games.
I still can't get over how Amari Davis doesn't shoot threes.
Yeah, he's a very throwback type of player. It's all to the rim. And
he averaged 16 points a game last year as a freshman, averaged 16 points a game. I think he shot 3 or 4 total threes on the season. He doesn't shoot. I don't know if he works on it or not, but he does not even attempt. It's not that he can't shoot threes. Obviously, if he could, he would. He doesn't even attempt them. That's rare in 2020 in this style of basketball for a guard to take on the mindset of, I'm going to average not just double figures, but 16 points a game as a freshman, not even take a 3. That's all. That's all kids do now. Yeah. They pick up a basketball, it's jacking up threes. That's all they're doing. And
half quarters.
It's really cool watching him dominate with the mid range. So shout out,
crafty around the rim.
Yeah, but Loudon Love, player of the year, preseason player of the year for the Horizon League. Amari Davis from Trotwood with the Green Bay Phoenix, and then of course Darius Quisenberry from Wayne with Youngstown State, all named to the Horizon League first team preseason. So shout out to those guys. But I can't wait to watch Amari Davis and Quisenberry in the league again coming up. You good?
Yes.
You good? We good?
No, it's like updating something on the websites. That's all.
457-9464. Let's go to Ron. Ron, what's up?
Hey, happy Free Food Day, Justin.
Happy Thursday, Ron.
Hey, happy Thursday. It's going to be a hell of a weekend for you because Monday you can go to work and not have to explain your reasons why the Browns got the crap kicked out of them. You know what I mean?
You? I don't know. The Browns, they're fine. They're 5-3.
Yeah, they are. But what was your prediction on that Raiders game?
Does it matter?
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't. It doesn't. They lost, Ron. It doesn't matter what I predicted. It ain't going to change the outcome of that game. They lost. You worry about your own team.
What? I've lived up here for 30 years, so I do root for the Bengals. I know you're going to cut me on that too. But
no, I've never questioned your oddness, Ron. I ain't going to question you cheering for the Bengals. By the way, you're going to talk smack. Your team has one more win than my Browns, and they have one less loss than my Browns. So what's your point?
Okay, here's my thing. Did you not predict the Browns would go 12-4?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so they got to go 7-1 second half. You really think that's going to happen?
No, they're not going to win 12 games now. So what? I predicted they'd win 12. They're not going to win 12. They're still going to win double-digit games. You're mad because I predicted 12 and they're going to win probably 10?
And be first round playoff losers, But anyway, I wanted to ask you, like you're dogging Bengals fans with that 30 for 30.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't the 0-16 season with the Browns made a better 30 for 30?
Yeah, we threw a parade.
Well, I mean, but that's
we know how to tank the right way, man. You go 0-16. I mean, the Bengals couldn't even tank right. They won 2 games. I'm just saying. I mean, look, you're a fan of a loser organization too. I mean, I know that sounds odd considering you look at the roster now, but the Buccaneers, they were the biggest joke of the NFL for how many decades?
Well, the first 2 years,
the creamsicle Bucks.
They won 1 game the first 2 years. Yeah, they were an expansion team like your team is. So that's so.
Don't encourage you.
They were a losing organization when they got going. But you know what? The Buccaneers find a way to win, and I wanted to give you an update. I seen a thing on ESPN. Drew Brees has missed 2 days of practice.
So it sounds like when your team wins on Sunday, it's not going to be a legit win then. Is that what you're saying?
I think Brees will play, but I'm saying if he takes a good shot, it could be done.
It is.
But you got something to watch this weekend. You can watch that game Sunday night. That's the highlight game, so it should be a good one. But
no, there's a lot of good games. I mean, I can't believe for one we're already in week 9, Ron. Your Bucks have the Saints. Obviously, that's going to be one of the biggest games of the weekend. No Browns, no Bengals. But yeah, I mean, look, what was a game like? Hell, I think one of the more entertaining games of the weekend is going to be the Dolphins and Cardinals, Tua and Kyler.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that. I mean, I'm into that too. But Trevor Bauer, I think the other day or so you kept saying he's going to stay put. And I'm going to make a prediction. I think the Yankees will open up their pocketbook and sign him because that's all they need. They got the bats. You put him with Garrett Cole, that team, that's a pitching staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the big thing for the Yankees, like that's the thing though. I don't really think the Yankees are going to be big players in the free agent market because you know what they got to do to get better for next year? All they got to do is just stay healthy. If the Yankees stay healthy, they're probably playing in the World. It was probably Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series. And I know that's you going up against your Rays, but I mean, look, the Yankees, they were leading that division until they got hurt. But they're always hurt. So to sit there and say, oh, well, they need to stay healthy, I mean, they may not be able to. But they stay healthy, that team's automatically better without them adding in, making any additions to that roster. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Bauer go there. But at the same time, the Yankees haven't been like obnoxious with going to add talent like they have in decades past. But we'll see.
Right. And your Cowboys are starting Gilbert Grape, I think. So they're in trouble down there, man.
They're not in trouble. They're doing exactly what they want to do, and that's lose games. They improve their draft stock, and they're going to draft Justin Fields like I've been predicting. They have Garrett Gilbert starting. By the way, we talked about he played for the Browns last year. He was the starter for the Browns against the Steelers in Game 2 of the Browns-Steelers last year.
I'll tell you, that kid that started for Dallas last week, he was a deer in the headlights. But they ate him up. I mean, but last time I think Elliott played the Steelers. Didn't he have 3 touchdowns? So
yeah, we'll see. But Ron, good hearing from you.
All right, man. Hey, have a good weekend, brother.
Adios. 457-946. We got Jim. Who we got? Who this? Is this Jim?
How's it going? I haven't talked to you since I gave you trouble about Urban Meyer. But today I want to ask you a question, and this is I'm being legit here. I'm one of the very few Seattle Seahawks fans in Dayton. I grew up here. If I choose between the Bengals and the Browns, I'm always going the Bengals because that's just kind of the group that I grew up around. But what is it with the Browns fans and their loyalty? And I respect it, and it's awesome, almost like the Steelers in Green Bay also. But why are Browns fans and Bengals fans, I'm sorry this is true, why are Bengals fans so less loyal than Browns fans are? Because Browns fans are ride or die, and I'm not going to say that about a plethora of Bengals fans.
Well, to be fair, Cincinnati, and look, the Browns don't put a lot of winning teams out on that field anyways, especially since coming back to Cleveland. I think this is only the 3rd time since coming back from Cleveland that Cleveland has started 5-3 throughout the first half of the season. They haven't done a lot of winning since coming back, as far as that's concerned.
That's what's respectable. But Browns fans are so much more loyal. Bengals fans are fair weather. Once Carson Palmer left, Andy Dalton didn't do too well, and then they disappear, and they only come around every once in a while. Then they throw celebrations because they got their second win of the season. It makes it boggles my mind. I don't get it. But Browns fans, they threw a celebration for 0-16. You know why? Because the Browns backers, they love it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they had fun with it. But look, I mean, look, every team, I'm not a big fan of fans who just accept mediocrity and bad teams, though. Like, I love the loyalty of Browns fans, but at the same time, it does get a little old that every time that team loses, the Browns just say, oh, well, maybe next year. The only thing I'll give the Bengals is that maybe, just maybe, them giving up on their team the last couple of years finally put the pressure on Mike Brown to make some changes. And I'm being a little nice there, right? Like, I'm trying to, maybe them finally, kind of speaking with their wallet a little bit, kind of woke him up a little bit. But let's be clear, I don't know at what point loyalty becomes stupid, because you always want to cheer on your team no matter what, but you also don't want to enable bad ownership. When you continue to cheer on your team, when you continue to put asses in seats, when you continue to spend money on merchandise and everything, you are enabling your bad owner. We've talked about this a few weeks ago. If there's a restaurant in town and they have bad customer service and the food, is horrible, you wouldn't keep going back to it. And if you did keep going back to it, the owner would never force the staff to treat the customers better. They would never try to get better quality food because, well, hey, these customers are stupid. They're going to eat our bad food and put up with our rude waitresses. So why should we improve ourselves? That's kind of how I look at it when it comes to our pro sports teams. If you want to keep cheering them on, fine. But at a certain point, you're an enabler.
I completely agree. And I think that's and I get it that maybe Paul Brown gets just enough of a taste because his profits are good enough. Because without all the extra BS, he reminds me of. I hate using the analogy of Donald Sterling because of what negativity he brings. I'm not going to throw that on Paul Brown.
No, that ain't Sterling and negativity. That's just racism.
But when he did own the Clippers, he flat out said he wasn't in it to win championships. He was in it to make money, and he made a lot of money owning an LA franchise, and that was clearly his goal, which is why the Clippers were so terrible for so long. It wasn't his focus, and I kind of look at it that I can't see anything other than an owner like Mike Brown caring other than anything about just making sure his kids are set, and now they're older, and they've taken over the franchise, but he's still the guy, and he's not investing in winning, and that's just been I've been in Ohio for 36 years, and I haven't seen anything different. Except for an icky shuffle or two, and I don't see anything that makes them want to win. And I also wanted to make sure that your producer grabbed me off the phone. He put this number down. So I just got back off a plane from Dallas 3 days ago, and I was outside of a Captain D's Fish, and I was holding a cardboard sign looking for money to get back on a plane because I got canceled and my credit card was declined. And luckily Jerry Jones came up, and so I'm going to be the backup quarterback for the other guy who was standing next to me. He was standing next to me, and he just happened to shake Jerry's hands first. So he's going to start this week, and I'm going to start next week.
Nice.
So,
congratulations.
I might buy your jersey. You tell me whatever number you wear. I'm going to get that jersey then. Big fan.
And Jerry personally came out to teach me some of the quarterback drills, and it is drop back and tuck my head, fall down before I get hit.
Tell Zeke we said what's up.
Yep, absolutely. I gave him my card, but he put it in his hair, and I couldn't find it in the fro. But I respect it because he's going all in on it. So
there you go.
And when I saw him out getting something to eat, he still had a half shirt cut off when he was at the steakhouse. So all good, absolute good.
Hey, it only looks good whenever you're in shape, but when you look like Zeke now, it don't look as good anymore. He don't look as cool when he has his little roller coming out of there. Just saying. Hey, Jim, thank you, man. I appreciate the call.
Absolutely.
We cut him off. Guillotine. 457-9464. More of the Justin Kinner Show next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
There's an underdog story happening today in America. Small businesses are fighting to make a comeback, but in the moment they have the least, they're giving the most. They're rallying communities and neighborhoods, yet asking for little in return. Well, it's time we gave back. Small Unites is making it simple for everyone to take action and support the small businesses that unite us all. Find out how you can donate, shop, and share today at smallunites.org.
Let's be there for them. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Check engine light on? That's what we're here for. Let's head out to your car. This is our free AutoZone Fix Finder service. It's what we use to help troubleshoot your check engine light. It analyzes your specific vehicle information to give you the code you need to know, and even tells you the likely issue. And if you're feeling like you need a bit of help with the fix, we know some of the best repair shops around. Getting your job done just got easier. Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
While serving in Iraq, an IED took both my legs, but it didn't take my spirit.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I'm Greg Gadsden, Army veteran.
DAV helps veterans and their families get the benefits they've earned.
Today, I'm an entrepreneur, photographer, and public speaker.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
My victory is just being the best that I can be.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Ever wonder just how far an extra mile really goes? Drive a Mercedes-Benz van and find out. Start with a network of over 250 authorized dealerships backed by a sales force ready to help you with everything from customization to service on vans like the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter that's tailored to your lifestyle, with options like blind spot assist and MBUX voice command for spoken directions, weather, and more.
The route is being calculated.
So whether you're enjoying life on the trail or working hard on the job, see how far an extra mile can really go by taking the first step into an authorized Mercedes-Benz van dealership today. Now with IRS Section 179, businesses can be eligible for up to a $25,900 tax deduction. That's up to $5,439 in tax savings.
Options and model availability may vary. See dealer for details about costs and terms. Some equipment described is optional. $5,439 tax savings based on 21% federal tax rate and eligibility to claim full $25,900 Section 179 vehicle deduction. Your tax rate and eligibility may vary. Consult your tax advisor for more information. Limits may apply. Visit nbvans.com. Offer valid through December 31st, 2020.
At Meadowbrook at Clayton, our state-of-the-art golf simulators are ready for play. Book your tee times now and get our special rate of $15 per half hour for up to 4 people per simulator. Here's your chance to play some of the great golf courses around the world, including Kiowa Island, Harbor Town, and Spain's Valderrama. Weekday and weekend hours are available, and safe prepackaged snacks and drinks are only steps away. Go online to meadowbrookatclayton.com for details. Everyone is welcome, so call and reserve your times now.
You have empty office space to fill. You know what you need, and you know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places that what you need and what you'd like, that might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half price and below manufacturer suggested prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best, really. Desks from $50 to $5,000. File cabinets, $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Outlet. With 87,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. 2 locations. One at 23 McOil Street, Dayton. The other, Uniques Unlimited on South Dixie. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Saturday, 10 to 4.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations, serving the greater Dayton and Cincinnati area, is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase. Visit on Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com and upgrade today.
Hi, Joey Beckett here at Buckeye Ford in Sydney, home of the Works package and the double take tire specials. Call today for your appointment. 937-419-8473 or 1-800-700-0050. Buckeye Ford in Sydney, exit 92 off of I-75. We'll see you soon.
If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
So you want to talk about outliers? Those guys are out. You're lucky that this thing's separating us. That's all I got to say. For facts, though. I got your facts right here.
Listen, stream, and now watch. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook to follow along. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Coming up here immediately following the show, 6 o'clock, Talking Out Loud, the new Dayton Flyers basketball show that happens that airs every Thursday night at 6 o'clock, hosted by Sully. Talking Out Loud, again, part 2 of his conversation with former Dayton Flyers great Brooks Hall, and that's coming up here immediately following our show. Sully and Brooks Hall go in detail about what led to, of course, some of the sanctions against the Flyers due to some of the recruiting violations that went on with Brooks Hall. A very interesting conversation between that as Brooks Hall goes in detail. So you don't want to miss that. That's coming up immediately following our show. Sully's actually going to join us to talk Little Dayton Flyers basketball coming up here a half hour from now. Earlier in the show, of course, we discussed the potential Cincinnati Reds pursuit of Francisco Lindor, which a lot of people rolled their eyes at first until I rolled my eyes at it at first earlier today, because we've been spending this last week talking so much about Trevor Bauer, how the Reds aren't going to have enough money to pursue, or to at least, try to bring Trevor Bauer back, who, of course, he declined the Reds qualifying offer. He's definitely going to hit the free agent market. He's going to go out. He's going to get wooed, going to go out and find out what he's worth, see what the teams are willing. Actually, we kind of know what he's worth. It's just a matter of whether teams are going to be willing to fork over the money to pay him. But then this new report starts circulating earlier today that the Cleveland Indians are looking to move on from Francisco Lindor before opening day. They do not. I mean, for instance, Indians fans, you have seen potentially the last of Francisco Lindor in an Indians jersey. They are looking to move him by opening day of next season. So now, of course, one of the teams, based on a couple of reports I read today, that make a lot of sense for Francisco Lindor, based just on previous conversations that that teams have had with the Indians. The Cincinnati Reds are on that list. The Cincinnati Reds are on that list, and it's interesting to me because we've spent so much time talking about how, well, if the Reds don't have the money or the resources to go out and spend big bucks to keep Trevor Bauer, what makes you think that they're going to be able to go out and get Francisco Lindor? And I'm doing, as I'm reading up on the situation, I mean, Francisco Lindor, you would owe him anywhere between $17.5 to $21 million next season if the Reds did pull the trigger on the deal. Here's what's going to happen, though. There is going to be a steep asking price for Francisco Lindor from the Indians if they wanted to trade him to Cincinnati. And I'm seeing a lot of that in response. David Shaw says that the cost of what the Reds would have to give up to get Lindor is way too high. It's extremely unfair. I disagree. I think that the Indians lost leverage the second that they did not move him at last year's trade deadline. Had they been able to, move him at the trade deadline or heading into last season, 2 years of player control over Francisco Lindor would be worth potentially giving up Lodolo, potentially giving up Hunter Green and Nick Senzel, maybe some other prospects as far as that's concerned. But keep in mind, that is not the situation anymore. I don't think Francisco Lindor has a whole hell of a lot of value as much as what people think. For one, we're heading into an offseason that teams don't want to spend money. The market for Francisco Lindor shrunk significantly the second that COVID hit, and it shrunk significantly the second that they decided not to move on from him. Hell, even a year and a half of Francisco Lindor is worth a lot for the Reds to give up, especially when you look at some of their struggles. Had they pulled the trigger on the deal this past season at the trade deadline, they would have been able to have Lindor in that lineup with Castellanos, with Akiyama, with Moustakas, with Eugenio Suarez, with Votto, and so on and so on. And you would have also had Trevor Bauer in the rotation. Now, if the Reds were to make a trade, unless it's a sign-in trade, and I don't anticipate that happening, you're only talking about 1 year of player control for Lindor. I don't think the Indians can ask for the moon. I don't think they can ask for it. I don't think they can ask for a whole lot. I don't think they have leverage. I think that the teams have leverage who, if the Reds are even willing to give up a top prospect for him, that's a win for the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
If the Indians get a call from the Reds and say, we'll give you Nick Senzel and some draft picks or some potential lower end prospects, if you're the Indians, you take that deal. You're not getting as much back from as you think. No team out there is going to give up 2 or 3 of their top prospects for 1 year of Francisco Lindor. It's just not happening. And to act like the Reds couldn't afford to pay his 17 to 21 million, they can afford to pay it. It's not 17 to 21. Next year's salary is not the problem. The Reds could take that money on.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be ideal. It's not like it wouldn't kind of crunch them a bit. They could take it on. It's going to be what could the Reds get long term. And if the Reds think that they have a shot to win the division next year with Francisco Lindor by giving up prospects and going after a Trevor Bauer with the Sonny, I could see them doing it. They were desperate. I mean, it was stupid to give up what they did to get Trevor Bauer. They gambled there. Oh, we're going to trade it. We're only going to get 1.5 years of him, and we're going to give up one of our top prospects. That was a gamble then. Clearly, the front office was showing the urgency to win. I don't see why that urgency is no longer there. I would do it again and still try to go after Trevor Bauer, using Francisco Lindor as the piece dangling in front of him, saying, look, we're serious. We got Castellanos. We got Moustakas. We got Lindor. We have Eugenio Suarez. We still have Sonny Gray. Castillo's going to be one more year into his career as far as experience. TJ Antone looked good. Molly looked good. You have the weapons. The bullpen was fantastic. Trevor Bauer pitched, 9 innings last year in that playoff game. And then the bullpen came in for another how many innings? The Reds have the weapons. And if you had Francisco Lindor, a legit superstar, into this mix, this Reds team becomes division champions next year, in my opinion. They need to go out and make this happen. I don't think the Indians have leverage. I don't think they have as much leverage as people think they do.
Another thing about the Indians not having leverage, it's all a bluff, because you know what? If other teams aren't willing to give the Indians what they want, they can walk away from the table, but the Indians have to trade him because they can't pay him. They literally don't have the money to pay him. So he's not going to be on the team because they can't make payroll. So whomever he's traded to, the Indians don't have leverage. They're almost at whomever they decide to make this trade with at their beckoning call. You know what I'm saying? The team that they trade him to has the leverage over them because they can't pay him, because he has to be off the roster because they can't pay him at all.
No, he has to be gone. They've already let Hand go with getting nothing in return. Like, you're right. And
they had to pay $1 million for him to leave.
And you're not going to wait you could try to gamble and say, well, we're going to wait to the deadline when the urgency's there even more. I don't think that even at the deadline, there's going to be teams giving up. You're going to get the most for him now. So if I'm the Reds, I give up Nick Senzel. I give up Nick Senzel's future for 1 year of Lindor to potentially win at a level that you can entice Lindor to work out a deal with Cincinnati long term, or vice versa with Trevor Bauer. Bottom line is, how painful would that be if you are a Cleveland Indians fan, if the Reds were able to take Bauer and Francisco Lindor and somehow turn it into a deep playoff run? How painful would that be?
Don't rub it in.
I'm just saying.
Don't rub it in.
Ian Harold on Facebook says, if Bauer is worth 1 year at whatever price in fans' eyes, why in the hell is a 1 year of a superstar like Lindor not worth it? Reds have shown they can spend. Getting Lindor does not mean they can't offer Bauer, Senzel, and a couple lower level guys. Ian, I'm with you. My stance kind of shifted a little bit even from the beginning of the show, because the longer I started sitting here and kind of reading more, during these commercial breaks, I'm like, they don't have leverage. So when I saw, I think it was Shaw earlier that said that the Indians' asking price would be way too high. They can ask, but ain't going to get it. They don't have leverage. They had leverage at this time last year. The Indians had leverage.
Well, to be fair, at the time the trade deadline came around for the Indians, they were playing good baseball, and I was one of the main people out there saying, like, hey, man, this is a COVID year. You have no idea what's going to happen. They had one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. They were actually hitting the ball at the time before they went into the drought that they did. So I was all about, well, just roll it out, see what happens. And then they went into a tailspin and they started winning games again. Then they won too many games and had to play the Yankees instead of the White Sox, and the season was over just like that. So I really don't fault them for not trading them. I kind of commend them for trying to, all right, let's just see what happens, because we got hot. Now you got to let him go. It is what it is. I love him as a player. He did a lot of great things for my squad, but ultimately they can't pay him. He's worth a lot of money. He deserves to get paid. He just ain't going to get paid by the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't blame them for not moving on from him either. But again, at the same time, They moved on from Clevenger, but that was for the issues behind the scenes of them just outright blatantly disrespecting the club. You have a manager that has all these health risks, and they just said, screw it, we're going to go out and do whatever we want anyways. I mean, and we're still waiting on the results of not the COVID results of Justin Turner. He got those. He just didn't care. And right now, they're still trying to decide how they're going to punish Justin Turner from the Dodgers as far as that goes. But you're right. I mean, the Indians were in a situation where in the last 2.5 years, they had moved on from Corey Kluber. They moved on from Trevor Bauer. They moved on from Clevenger. And yet you looked at that rotation, and it's still one of the best in baseball. That's how deep they are pitching-wise. But again, they're not going to be able to pay Francisco Lindor, which I shouldn't say they're not going to be able to. I don't know the Indians' financial situation. I don't know why you wouldn't, unless they're just ready to hit the reset button. But when you have that rotation, unless they're just getting their money set to pay those guys to keep that rotation in place, I don't get it. I don't follow the Indians' financial situation to understand. I just don't get it. I mean, I think it makes less sense for the Reds to get them than it does for the Indians to keep them. But the Indians are moving on from them. So you know what? One man's trash is one man's treasure.
I mean,
and he ain't trash.
That's just the way it goes. I mean, you think back to the days where CC Sabathia was with the team. They had to trade him to Milwaukee. They had to trade him to Milwaukee. Then eventually ended up with the Yankees because, once these guys hit arbitration and that number comes back, they can't pay it. That's why all these guys always end up with the Red Sox, with the Dodgers and the Yankees, because these other teams are willing to open up the bank account to ungodly levels that these other teams just can't. And I mean, that's just the way baseball is set up. It's not like the NBA or NFL where there's a salary cap. There is no salary cap. They can pay them as much money as they want because the Yes Network is paying out the wazoo. It keeps everybody employed.
Well, we will definitely keep an eye on this situation as it unfolds more moving forward. But again, the Indians looking to trade Francisco Lindor by 2021 opening day. The Reds go do it. Now, I throw out the question, if you're a Reds fan and the Reds could only pick Bauer or Lindor, which one would you – what are the Reds fans' mindset on who would you rather see the Reds put effort into going to bringing back for next year? It's back and forth. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, but I think Francisco Lindor brings more than just a pop in the lineup. He brings superstar. He brings stardom. He brings asses to seats. He puts the Reds on the map. I just think that Francisco Lindor just brings so much more to the table than just, he could swing a bat and play pretty good defense. Ian Harold says, heard a lot of Reds fans worried about Lindor only being a year deal. The whole idea of worrying about what happens after the contract is up blinds a lot of people and stunts what currently could be. I would sign 25 guys to 25 one-year deals if it meant bringing a championship to Cincinnati. So there you go. And by the way, I would disagree with that if the Reds had to give up the farm to do it. They're not going to. Nope. They're not going. Nick Senzel and some prospects, lower end prospects, or a higher end prospect and two lower end ones. I don't know, but they do not have to act like they're going to have to give up Hunter Green and Lodolo and Garcia and all these guys. That's not happening. It's not. It's going to be two lower end guys and Nick Senzel, or a higher end guy and two lower end guys. The Reds will figure it out if they really want to. And I don't get it. If you're the Reds and you're the Castellinis, you went all out last offseason. You went all out to go that far, which wasn't that far. Why not finish the deal? Go get Lindor. Bring a World Series to Cincinnati. Hour 3 next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
The great thing about facts, they're proven. Like the fact that crude oil contains impurities, or that base oil made from natural gas is 99.5% free of impurities. And the fact that Pennzoil is the first synthetic motor oil made from natural gas, not crude oil. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil. Based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30. Available at Pet Boys.
Starting route. Your destination is 0.1 miles away.
If you drive less than
500 feet, turn left. You have arrived at your destination.
if you drive less than 25 miles a day, you could be paying less every day with pay-per-mile car insurance from Allstate. You get the same reliable coverage and hands-on expertise you'd expect from Allstate, but now at a price that's tailored to the miles you drive.
Call your local Allstate agent and start paying what's right for you. Includes a daily rate. Prices vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Not applicable in California. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Of course we can help you with that oil change. Doing it yourself is a great way to save some money. Right now you can get 5 quarts of Pennzoil high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $27.99. And we've got even more ways to get it. Just order online with our next day delivery or free same day store pickup. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
I left the military with a traumatic brain injury. I came home to fight depression, anxiety, and alcohol.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I'm Adam Greathouse, Army veteran.
DAV helps veterans get the benefits they've earned.
With DAV's help, I built a new life for myself.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
My victory is just experiencing life.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Napa know-how. At Napa, you can get 20% off 3 or more items with the $4.99 Napa tool bag. Yep, 20% off power tools, 20% off wipers, 20% off oil, and more. It's a whole bag of tricks. Well, actually, it's one trick over and over again, but it's a good one, saving you 20% on 3 or more items. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 11/30/20.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. It's the ESPN Dayton hashtag We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Be listening every hour for the word that wins and enter it at wingam.com. WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, how are you? It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Now, normally we do this over the phone, and today we're doing it, of course, on YouTube right now. We're live on YouTube. We have ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz hanging out with us this afternoon. Jason, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me. And I love these non-traditional ways to do it. Like, this is the coolest part of 2020. We don't usually get to see each other. Now we do. I love it.
Yeah, and it only took someone driving through a poll to allow this to happen. So I guess thank you to whoever, but there you go.
That's commitment right there.
Speaking of commitment, the Browns were not committed to anything other than losing this past Sunday. Congratulations to your Raiders, but that was an ugly game. That was not a pretty game, but the Raiders, you predicted it. We were both wrong, though. We expected a high-scoring affair. That was definitely not it. A very ugly football game, but a win's a win for your Raiders and another loss for the Browns.
Yeah, well, and in all fairness, I already had the hoodie on. I'm not trying to wear a Raiders hoodie to troll anybody. That's normal wear for me. No, I thought, look, and we were definitely wrong about the score. When I saw the weather in the morning, I really thought that was advantage Cleveland for a couple of reasons. I mean, controlling the line of scrimmage is something that most teams should be able to do against that Raiders defensive front. Not particularly good there. And then conversely, the opposite way, the Raiders offensive line has been so decimated. I struggled to see a path to victory when the weather looked awful. And that, to me, is the biggest surprise that, frankly, not only that the Raiders were able to run the ball down Cleveland's throat, yes, but conversely, the fact that Cleveland wasn't able to do that to Vegas was really stunning to me, because I don't think very highly of most of the defensive line for the Raiders or the linebackers when it comes to stopping the run this year. And they showed up in this one, which was a bit of a surprise.
So we're week to week with Baker Mayfield and everything in the NFL, man. So where are you at with Baker this week?
That's a really good question. I mean, and to be fair, you guys, honestly, Raiders fans are the same way with Derek Carr. And it is funny to me how all I have to do is go on social media and say Derek Carr is awesome or Derek Carr is trash. And either way, I can just spend the rest of the day getting reactions. So I think they're similar, though, in some ways. Like some weeks they're great and then they make you think you got your guy. And then the next week you turn around and you're like, well, what is that? Now, this was a game that was particularly difficult to throw the ball in. I don't think he got a lot of help from people dropping passes. We've seen it all over ESPN repeatedly. I don't put all of that on Baker, but that's also, again, that is a very bad Raiders defense, especially in their secondary. I was a little surprised that they didn't try. And I know you couldn't attack 40 yards downfield, but you can attack 10, 15 yards downfield. And they didn't. So, a little bit of the game plan failing there to me, but also a little bit of Baker failing. And this is sort of who Baker is. I mean, Baker at this point is, for moving forward, the Browns, I believe, are going to try and be a run-first team that gets some, spike from Baker. And as long as he's comfortable in that role, I mean, that's great. They're going to win some games. I'm just not sure it's going to be the way that so many people had in their mind.
For me, go ahead, Kenner.
No, my bad. Sorry. So you're without one of your top offensive linemen and Teller for the Browns. No OBJ, no Nick Chubb. Of course, Austin Hooper's out. He had a last minute surgery just not too long ago. I'm all about making excuses for Baker and the Browns. That's the label I wear, and I wear it proud as far as that's concerned. But with that being said, we still are trying. I have yet to see a game from the Browns that looks the same from one week to the next. They've had the same game plan a few games back when they had won 4 straight, but we've yet to see this team look the same. That's why there's so many question marks about Baker and this Browns team, but they're 5-3 right now. And in that tough division, 5-3, I'll take 5-3 any day heading into this bye week, especially.
Well, and they're right in the thick of it for the wild card, right? That's why I thought Sunday was such a big game, because for both of these teams, they're going to be battling down the stretch. I think having the tiebreaker is a big deal. The only thing I'd say, though, and I believe everything you just said is a reasonable explanation, but let's also look at the Bengals, who had they were missing 4 offensive linemen. Even the Raiders in this game were missing 2 and a backup. So I think this concept of missing pieces is what every team is dealing with. So, conversely, when you watched the game on Sunday, which team did you think was the better quarterback? Because to me, I watched it and felt like Derek Carr was the better quarterback of those 2 quarterbacks in the game. And he's also dealing with a huge number of offensive line issues, dealing with wide receiver injuries. So I mean, at what point do we look at it and say, well, that's just NFL in 2020, and Baker's got to be better in that situation.
I'm thinking about Baker and his whole career. We're week to week with it. The whole OBJ, he plays better without OBJ. I told Kenner in the back half of the season, we're going to find out if Baker is a true quarterback or if he's basically Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy that can win you games and throw up crazy numbers one week and then the very next week throw 4 interceptions. I think he's going to prove which guy he is for the rest of his career these last 8 weeks.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, especially because there's some favorable games on the schedule looking forward for Cleveland. Also, guys, I'm usually the one that comes in and says, well, let's not dip back into the draft because God only knows. How do you know you got something better than that? And the Browns are going to be too good to have a high draft pick this year. But the one thing I will say is that there are going to be quarterbacks that hit the open market this offseason. There's a high level of speculation that Matt Ryan is going to be available for trade. And even though it's very complicated, some people think that Carson Wentz could be made available for trade. I don't think that, but some people, around Bristol, they're starting to say, well, could happen. Now, there's contractual complications with that. But, if you start looking across the board and telling me, okay, I got to decide between Baker Mayfield and Matt Ryan, even who we have a pretty good indication Matt's going to be out there. I'm taking Matt Ryan. And then don't sleep on a very under talked about report by Adam Schefter on Sunday that part of the reason Tua was given the starting job now is because the Dolphins, remember from their trade with Houston, have Houston's first round pick. That looks like it could be a top 3 pick in the draft. Right. They want to see what they have in Tua because they may have a shot at Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. So that also tells us that Tua, in that theory, could be available next year in trade. So usually I'm not a guy that says, oh, well, let's go back to the draft. This year, I don't think it's just about the draft. I think there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks that are made available to the free agency or trade market that we're not used to seeing.
That's very new. Cowboys. That's very new. Josh Rosen was the first guy to be a casualty of that, and it's looking like Dwayne Haskins is going to be a casualty of that as well. And the possibility of Tua being a casualty of this is fascinating.
Well, and that would not be a statement about Tua. It'd be a statement about the fact, like, it doesn't matter if you think you've got the next really good quarterback. If you end up somehow with the first pick in the draft and you've got a shot at the next John Elway, and that's what people think Trevor Lawrence is, even if you think you've got your guy, do you really pass on the next John Elway? Like, if you're looking at the next 15 years, I don't know that there's a simple answer. It's a reality for everybody that they're trying to figure out. It's that what it looks like today versus what it looks like for 15 years.
We have ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz with us here. You can catch a weeknight start here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Spain and Fitz from 7 to 9 p.m. Jason, I'm all about those hot takes, and I have another one right here. Kev, of course, rolls his eyes. You get to see the eye rolling now. That's the best part about this now.
Yes.
So the Dallas Cowboys, we're all about, everyone's all about, okay, they're going to re-sign Dak, or they're going to work on the extension with Dak Prescott. If I'm Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones is getting a little bit older. I think the urgency to win a Super Bowl is obviously should always be there, but I think it's there more apparent now. If you re-sign and extend Dak Prescott, you're putting a lot of money into him, and you have a lot of other holes that you have to fill. If I'm Jerry Jones and I'm the Cowboys and I'm high enough in that draft that all of a sudden Justin Fields is sitting there, I move on from Dak. I draft Justin Fields. I have a great rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, and you have a ton of money, an owner that loves to spend money. The Dallas Cowboys could be flipped like that in a heartbeat. You can't flip this team with Dak right away, but I believe you could if you had a Justin Fields potentially fall in your lap if you're high enough in the draft, a spot that I don't think anyone anticipated the Cowboys to be in. How likely of a scenario is that, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, how likely? If they're sitting with the first 2 pick in the draft, I don't think it's impossible. I will say this. I wouldn't be surprised to see them franchise him again, which is their right, and it's a huge cap number, even in that situation. Because remember, once they franchise him, somebody's going to have to give up 2 number ones to go out and get Dak. Now, would somebody do that? I mean, and that, again, talks to the trickle-down effect. I mean, if you're the Rams and you're trying to figure out what you got in Goff, would you give up 2 number ones to get yourself Dak? Probably. And that means Goff suddenly hits the open market for teams that are looking to figure out who they could have at quarterback. I'd even say I think that Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback of the Raiders for a very long time. Most people don't agree with me. So if somebody like Dak is available, would the Raiders make that move? Maybe putting Derek Carr in the open market. But the other side of it is I just always caution everybody when it comes to the draft. Like, there was a period where the Buccaneers believed that Jameis was going to be their guy. Titans fans believed that Mariota was their guy after they saw him for a couple of years. Baker was the second coming after his first year. So you dip back into the draft and you take this chance that you have somebody for 1 year, maybe 2 years. Do you have somebody for the next 15? If you're right, heck yeah. If not, it sets your whole franchise back 5 years. Well, Jerry Jones take that level of risk because you got to give it at least 4, maybe 5 years. And let's remember that the reason the Bears moved up for Mitchell is because they believed he was going to be a star. And now we've all seen how that's played out.
As I send you out, I got to make sure we touch on the Cincinnati Bengals because that's disrespectful of me, the ultimate Bengals hater, just to graze over the Bengals win over the Titans. That's a huge win because it's not just, any win for the Bengals is big right now, but who they beat, no one anticipated them being able to knock off the Titans, and they do. Who did we learn more about this past Sunday? Are we learning that the Titans maybe are not as good as we thought, or are we learning that, okay, the Bengals are just getting better, or are you going to say it's kind of in the middle as far as that's concerned?
Well, look, I'm already the president of the Joe Burrow fan club. I do think he's an epic quarterback, and I think he's going to have a hell of a run. Like, I absolutely believe that. When the play everybody keeps playing in Tennessee, because, for anyone that doesn't know, I lived in Nashville for 20 years, and I got my radio start on Nashville ESPN radio affiliates. So, I talk to Titans fans a bunch. They keep playing the play where everybody thought Burrow was down and they thought they were going to get the sack, and he runs around and gets the big completion over and over and over again. To which I say, did you not see the SEC championship game? That's exactly the look that Georgia had on the sideline saying, what the heck? How did we not get him down? So I think it's a statement how good Joe Burrow is. Conversely, if you look at the Titans this season, the downfall of the Titans is they are the worst thing a football team can be. They play down to bad opponents. They play up to good opponents. So we've seen them look really good in games where they need to look really good at times, but they look bad against bad teams. It's a reason that I have a lot of caution in trying to figure out how good the Titans actually are.
I'm a big Joe Burrow fan, and I love the way Zach Taylor has been using him the last couple weeks, putting him on the move, cutting the field in half, not having him drop back 100 times, minimizing his drop backs, really actually using the running game, even though Joe Mixon has been out, using Giovanni Bernard a lot more in the running game and a quick passing game, everything like that. I give a lot of kudos to Coach Zach Taylor for the way the Bengals have been playing the last couple of weeks.
Well, in fairness, I think I've been hard on Coach a couple of times about not looking for balance. It took him a little while to find that balance. And you're right. And the other thing you said that I think is really smart is the rollouts, because just keep in mind for anybody that's watching him, when you do a designed rollout, you're essentially eliminating half the reads. You're only asking him to get through 2, maybe 3 reads on the play. And that makes life so much easier. If you've got an athletic quarterback, it buys him time to make the right read, and it makes him read less. So as long as they can identify that play in pre-snap, it really puts Burrow in a good position. So I'm with you. I think that Coach Taylor's doing a good job, although I say that and I feel Friday Night Lights. But I feel like he's done a very good job over the last few weeks. It just took a little while to find that rhythm.
Full hearts can't lose.
Amen. Best TV show ever. Yeah, no doubt.
All right, Jason, send us out with this. Your top 4 college football. If the college football playoff poll came out today, what would Jason Fitz' poll look like? Send us out with that.
If I was a voter, I would go with Clemson number 1. I would go with Ohio State number 2, and I would go with Alabama with the shaky number 3. I think we forgive how bad their defense has been a few times in here. Number 4 is the toughest one today. It's Notre Dame. It won't be after Clemson kicks their butt. So I am putting, I'm just hot taking it right there. So I am saying that this is right now, today, this could be the year Cincinnati would then pop up into number 4. And that's, I gotta give a ton of credit to Luke Fickell. I said this on the college football show that I host digitally last week. The reason, we need to remember that Luke Fickell had a shot at a Michigan State job that everybody thought was his dream job. And he said no. To say no to that means, to me, he knew he had something special in Cincinnati that was going to ride hard enough this year that he could either stay or he could go anywhere he wants. I think that Cincinnati has the opportunity to be the AAC's great hope. They have getting that Memphis thing off their back was a huge win. Luke Fickell's got that defense playing great, and that offense is as explosive as any in the country. I think Cincinnati has a real and legit shot at the college football playoff this year. I'd put them in.
Jason Fitz, Sarah Spain hosts Spain and Fitz weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Jason, thank you for being flexible. Many Bengals fans thought yesterday that I made up the car crashing into the phone because our phones weren't working. They wanted to call and just blast me, and the phones weren't working. They thought I made it up, but this is proof that we had to do this on video today because our phone lines are down. So there you go.
What? Either way, if it's a conspiracy theory, I appreciate the commitment to it. I think that's strong.
All right, Jason, thanks so much. So you have a great week. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, guys.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a high near 68. Tonight's going to be mostly to partly cloudy with a low around 45. And tomorrow will be mainly clear with a high near 70. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Advantage program from Stevenson Service Experts takes the stress out of maintaining your home comfort system. Pay no money down, one low monthly rate, and nothing for maintenance and repairs. The Advantage program from Stevenson Service Experts. Learn more at 866-EXPERTS or StevensonHVAC.com. See website for license details.
Javier's Auto Body is colliding with a shortage of licensed techs.
That 2017 is waiting on a clear coat. That 09 needs its left rear sanded, pounded, and painted. And the guy over there is waiting on an estimate.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
For DIY projects, you know the Home Depot is always in your corner. Now with our mobile app, it can also be in the palm of your hand with digital tools like image search. Snap a picture of something. It'll recognize it and serve up product suggestions in seconds. And our product locator will check availability and lead you right to it. The Home Depot mobile app. Download it today to get started. Only from the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contact us to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
At Meadowbrook at Clayton, our state-of-the-art golf simulators are ready for play. Book your tee times now and get our special rate of $15 per half hour for up to 4 people per simulator. Here's your chance to play some of the great golf courses around the world, including Kiowa Island, Harbor Town, and Spain's Valderrama. Weekday and weekend hours are available, and safe prepackaged snacks and drinks are only steps away. Go online to meadowbrookatclayton.com for details. Everyone is welcome, so call and reserve your times now.
Menards offers the world's best selection of molding with over 1,000 different sizes and styles in stock. Choose between ready-to-finish woods, primed, and water-resistant options, and over 10 different pre-finished options. Save big on your next project with Menards. Get 11% off everything at Menards. Good through November 7th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hi, Joey Beckett here at Buckeye Ford in Sydney, home of the Works Package and the Double Take Tire Specials. Call today for your appointment, 937-419-8473 or 1-800-700-0050. Buckeye Ford in Sydney, exit 92 off of I-75. We'll see you soon.
Susie, I love you. Your skin is soft, like a fresh leather interior.
Oh, Joe.
Your smell is intoxicating, like that of a new tire.
You always know how to make me blush.
So this year I got you something special.
Tires! Touring tires with an asymmetrical tread design.
Yeah, and a free alignment with standard installation.
It's just what I've always wanted.
Susie doesn't know that Joe saved $150 at Tire Discounters. This holiday, say it with tires.
You know, I don't know what my family would do without our Medicaid and Medicare benefits. But I just found out there may be a way to get even more benefits with no extra cost. That's why I called United Healthcare. United Healthcare showed me how I could get more benefits than I get with original Medicare. A dual complete plan from United Healthcare combines my doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage into one plan, plus provides additional great benefits at no extra cost, like dental and vision coverage, rides to and from my doctor, and credits toward health items and food. It's easy to see if you're able to get more benefits. Call United Healthcare at 1-800-222-CARE. That's 1-800-222-CARE. The call is free and there's no obligation. Call soon because the deadline for Medicare annual enrollment ends December 7th. Call United Healthcare now at 1-800-222-CARE. That's 1-800-222-CARE.
Paid actor portrayal. Benefits and availability may vary by plan and location. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Lowe's has everything you need to celebrate home and go all out on decorating this year, like GE pre-lit artificial trees, now just $169. Lowe's, home for the holidays.
Hey, who wants free money? Who are we kidding? We all do. It's the ESPN Dayton hashtag We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Listen for the word that wins 18 times a day, starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Enter the keyword at wingam.com for your chance to win $1,000. It's the ESPN Dayton hashtag We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone has had a great day. You know, it's interesting. I could tell Schroeder got all fired up, Kev. He messages in on Facebook. He says Jason Fitz could have just said that he doesn't watch the Titans and that he hasn't for the last few years, and that would have been better. Tyler Schroeder, you know what you sound like? You sound like a guy that's been trying to convince everyone that your quarterback's better than the Browns quarterback, but the Browns quarterback had a 10 times better performance against that joke of a Bengals defense than your quarterback, who you said was better than the Browns quarterback. That sound about right?
You know, they on a 2-game losing streak. He's a little sensitive.
But Tannehill's like, there's Tom Brady, then there's Ryan Tannehill, according to Schroeder.
What? I hope he doesn't think that.
Oh, he thinks that. To be fair, all he ever does say is that he's better than Baker. That's like me saying, "Oh, I'm taller than a fifth grader." What does that really get me? That doesn't really hold, accomplish a hell of a lot as far as that goes. All right, we are just a couple weeks away from the tip-off to the college basketball season. Now, I say that we are a few weeks away from the tip-off to the college basketball season. I have no freaking clue when the actual date is for especially our local teams, right? Well, actually, that's not true. We do know that the Sioux Falls, the tournament in Sioux Falls for the Dayton Flyers is coming up around the corner, but interesting development there. Jeff Goodman tweeted out earlier this afternoon that Ohio State has withdrawn from the Crossover Classic in Sioux Falls. And, in South Dakota, due to the spike in cases in the state and a 14-day quarantine upon returning to Ohio. So there is that. I mean, you're going to start to see a lot of that. Now, again, there's been no talk. I know Anthony Grant and the Flyers, he met with the media earlier today. I saw Dave Jablonski announce that there is no plans for the Flyers to opt out of this tournament at this time. So you should, as of right now, everything is, set as far as
what happened to the whole bubble thing. Remember they were talking about doing bubbles and pods for conferences and stuff like that?
There was bubbles and pods for potential like little those showcase type things like the Sioux Falls class. Like there would have been potential things like that where teams would have to pay to go into these bubbles that you'd be able to get at least 5 to 6 games. I don't think that ever technically came into fruition. I don't think that's the Sioux Falls thing is. Obviously there's going to be, COVID protocols put in place. But when, Bo Ryan's son, Will Ryan, the coach at Green Bay, when I talked to him earlier in the summer, he said the things that he was hearing a lot of teams that he had an interest in was that programs would be able to buy their way into these bubble type tournaments to where you'd be able to at least get, 4 to 5 games against other teams like yours, as well as some high major teams as well, because teams were really worried about being able to kind of build their non-conference resume because it's brutal right now.
Right.
I talked with someone from Wright State yesterday who told me that right now they have so many contracts out there who no one's willing to sign. There are some conferences who are on the verge of potentially just going non-conference only. Now, they wouldn't tell me which conferences those are, which tells me that Wright State has no interest in playing Power 5 teams, which when you're a team like that who's struggling financially, why in the blue hell would you not go accept money to get the crap kicked out of you for a few nights just to at least make up some change from not being able to make money this year?
Make a couple bucks.
But so because of that, teams are hesitant to put their name on the dotted line without knowing what the direction of their conference is going to be, which I think is a cop-out because if you sign it and your conference is too bad, you can't play non-conference games, what is Wright State going to do? Sue, what are you going to do? What are you going? So you play next year. You figure it out. Anyways, let's bring on someone who I always enjoy talking scheduling with. We got Sully from Talking Out Loud. Sully, I made you wait there a little longer than I should have. I appreciate you being patient. Welcome in. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, that's why you guys do radio, because you got to fill 3 hours, so you might as well make a conversation worth 3 hours, right?
Someone said I heard someone the other day say if they could describe our show, it would be, well, it just sounds like they're trying to fill 3 hours. So that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
I'm appalled.
Well, I mean, you guys got to be on the air every day, and I was putting together. I try to put together a podcast every week on top of the show that airs here on ESPN Dayton. And this week I didn't put out a podcast on the side of it because, frankly, nothing really happened in college basketball in the last week. You mentioned David Jablonski met with Anthony Grant today, and that's more of kind of like a friendly handshake to the media. Like nothing ever comes of that. It's nothing really newsworthy.
It's always the guys are practicing hard. They're prepping for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not learning anything from that,
It's all fluff. And I always say, like, I'm not going to put out you guys, like I said, you have to be on the air every day. But I always say, I have the luxury of I'm not going to put out a podcast unless there's something to say.
Ooh, I wonder if my bosses would go for that with us. Hey, there's really nothing going on today. We ain't coming in today.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work for you. My freelance lifestyle allows me those liberties, so I apologize, man.
No, so you heard. So Ohio State's out of Sioux Falls. I'd be more bummed about that if Ohio State was UD's opening opponent. I mean, it was going to take a lot of both teams winning and running into one another in that little tournament, anyways. So I mean, I don't know what the likelihood of seeing those two teams run into one another would have been. But just your thoughts, and could that be something that we see happening to UD at some point, pulling out of this thing?
No, I don't. And frankly, it's just because UD needs it more. And let me explain. I don't buy for 1 second that Ohio State is pulling out of this tournament because they're overtly scared about COVID cases. Because think about this. Ohio State football has been playing for a few weeks now. If cases were spiking around Columbus but not within the football programs, do you think OSU would cancel their game with Michigan? So it leads me to, like, I am one of those people, I'm not a COVID denier or like a mask person, like mask denier or whatever. I am just skeptical of everyone and everything. And Utah and Ohio State have now pulled out of this Sioux Falls tournament. And to me, that is just the two programs that are in power conferences recognizing that, hey, we don't need to go and play in these tournaments. Ohio State gains nothing by it. Frankly, they can stay home and they can pay lesser programs to come to their arena, right? And then they can go into Big Ten play where they're going to get plenty of quality games, unchallenged and undefeated. So from Ohio State's perspective, there's really nothing to gain, but you can push all that aside and say, well, you know, we're not comfortable with COVID. It's just a very nice PR. It's very tight. No one can really poke holes in it. I'm just a skeptic and I don't buy it. Now, you asked me about Dayton and my thoughts about Dayton. Dayton absolutely needs this tournament. Everybody knows around the A-10 landscape that you only get a couple of quality games per year, and this year is not outstanding. So Dayton has to go and play in this tournament to get some quality wins so that when we have whatever kind of tournament we're going to have, Dayton has quality wins. You mentioned, you know, about the mandate from the state of Ohio. Ohio said that, you know, it was their recommendation that teams don't travel. But again, Dayton needs the money. They need the wins. They're going to go and play in these tournaments regardless of what the state recommends. So until Ohio comes down and says absolutely not and mandates it, you know, UD is going to play in these games for the reasons I just mentioned.
Yeah, too. But keep in mind, I know, and this is what I'm curious about with UD. So Ohio State, so one of their excuses, too, is why they pulled out was because when they come back, there would have to be a 14-day quarantine period when they come back. Now, that might be a Big Ten rule and not an A-10 rule. I don't know what the A-10's philosophy is on when you travel out. When you come back, do you have to quarantine for a certain amount of time? Again, could be an excuse, but that is what's going on with the Big Ten. But that doesn't happen in football. Ohio State's going to play, you know, when they just went to Penn State, they don't have to quarantine for 2 weeks coming back. So I don't get that unless it's a separate rule for basketball versus football.
Well, it's state by state right now, and Ohio obviously has put this mandate on South Dakota and not a travel mandate on Pennsylvania. You know, but you brought up a good point, and I've said this to people all the time. You know, regardless of where you stand on keeping athletes safe or not safe, I can assure you the safest place for college basketball players to be is in their own bubble, traveling and going to these tournaments. Because you can ask any person that played college basketball at any level, and they'll tell you what a road trip is. You go to the airport, you get on a plane or you get on a bus. You're with your team the entire time. You go to the hotel, you go to the gym, you play the game, you go back to the hotel or you get back on a bus or plane and you come home. I mean, there is no room to go anywhere on road trips ever. So for people that are clamoring, it's for the athlete safety and blah, 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 give me a break. These guys are already in such a bubble that they're not the general public. They get tested every day or every other day. And I maintain that for college basketball players, the safest place for them to be is doing the normal routine, you know, going to games and frankly, being under the supervision of university officials and having the best medical staff at, you know, a fingertip away, right?
Sully with us here on 1410 ESPN Radio. He's the host of Talking Out Loud, the podcast, and now the radio version of Talking Out Loud, which is coming up immediately following our show here in just over 15 minutes. Part 2 of his sit-down conversation with Brooks Hall. We're excited for that. You guys get into a lot of good stuff that we'll touch on here in a second. But no, scheduling just an absolute mess. Like, I mean, luckily, you know, UD has this tournament that we're super excited about. We know that there's some other games on the non-con, but we just don't know all the details as far as who, what, when, where. And then, of course, you know, there's the A-10 stuff that's coming up around the corner. But this tournament, I'm a big fan of it, the Crossover Classic, of course. But after that, it's just going to be kind of dicey and up in the air as far as that's concerned. But you talked about the scheduling on your show last week. The schedule's pretty good. It's actually one of the most impressive schedules that they've had, especially in the non-con in a while.
Yeah, it has. And I touched on it briefly on last week's show. But it's funny how things come together like that. And it's a lot for the reasons that I mentioned, you know, right here today, is that power conferences are tending to shy away from playing these non-con games because they don't really need them. And so Dayton has, you know, kind of filled the void, or More simply, they've been pushing to keep getting better games on the schedule, and what's ended up happening is you get 3 good games in South Dakota. SMU from the jump, they have said that they wanted to stay on the schedule for UD. Initially, it was supposed to be in Dallas, and I don't know when things changed, but obviously now Southern Methodist is going to come to UD December 1st. And then the Mississippi State thing was the same way. It was like they had it scheduled in Atlanta. Nobody wanted to back out. Mississippi State's a program that kind of needs some wins in the SEC before they get to conference play. And so you get a bunch of programs that are motivated to play these games, and we've seen it. Whether you're talking about football, basketball, NFL, MLB, when there's money on the line and people involved are motivated to play these games, they're going to get played, and people are going to figure out real quick how to play them. So UD has really just reaped the rewards of that. But with that said, here we are, we're 20 days away from the season, and we can only verify that like 6 games are on the schedule. I mean, it's just absolute madness, man. I can't believe it.
Ken Palm rankings, we all have an obsession with overreacting to those, whether it's too low. I mean, I was following on Twitter last week, earlier in the week when the Ken Palm rankings came out, and of course, people not happy with where UD is. You tweeted out earlier in the week that UD is just going to have to earn the respect of a lot of the prognosticators out there. It's no different than any other season. I'm not overreacting to what these Ken Palm rankings are at the moment. If you look at the last 2 or 3 years, they've been ranked super low, and then they end up moving their way up, especially last year. That's all they did last year was just continue moving on up like the Jeffersons. It was unbelievable what they did last year. So your overall reaction to that too, and I know this sounds like a very simple question. How good is this team? How good is this team going to be? Not just in relative to the A-10, but big picture. Think back to a year ago at this time talking about last year's team. How different is this year's team going to be? Obviously, no Obi.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you have to start. Any review of this team, you got to go, they have to sustain the loss of a 20-point-a-night guy and a guy that, frankly, puts butts in seats. And then you got, 2 senior role players, Mike Sully and Landers, that I always like to say they stirred the drink. But without those guys tipping in every night, I mean, you have to find that production elsewhere. I'm glad you asked that question because it teases my show. That's what I spend the first 10 minutes talking about is the Ken Palm rankings and where we expect this UD team to be. Stick around to the ending, but I'll spoil it. It's a tournament or bust team. I mean, when they started the year ranked 55th in this same ranking last year, and we of course ended up 4th. And I told people you cannot expect the analytics to honor guys that have to still prove themselves. And sure, Jalen Crutcher is a starter. Chapman's a starter. Watson's the first guy off the bench. After that, all these guys got to prove themselves, not even from a numbers perspective, just, from playing games. They have to get experience. So with all that said, I think Dayton has all the pieces here to be a tournament or bust team. I didn't have any problem with them being 42. Frankly, that's exactly where I predicted they were going to end up. I thought it was going to be between 40 and 55. And that's pretty much where they always end up. I mean, any Dayton team that goes into the year that is supposed to be at the top of the A-10, they generally start the year ranked between 40 and 70. The 2 years that Anthony Grant started at UD are kind of outliers because the program was rebuilding. But, just put in, I tried to put it in perspective on the show coming up here is just that the numbers don't mean a lot, but if you look at large sample sets of these rankings year over year, you can start to see that we ended up right where we were supposed to.
You talked earlier about when Anthony Grant met with the media. I know it's always fluff. They don't ever give you anything. It's always, hey, the sun's coming out tomorrow. The players are working hard and we're ready to go this season, which I believe all of those things. But the one thing he did say that I did find interesting, look, the NCAA is giving out, their, waivers like crazy. Elijah Weaver, they have said they have not heard back yet. I thought that we had put that to rest. I thought there was no way he was playing this year. Apparently, there's still a shot he could play.
Yeah, so that goes real deep into the inner workings of college basketball, and I always hesitate because not everybody cares about it. But it's becoming relevant for UD. In the off season, a lot of schools have been applying for waivers for guys that have transferred, and the NCAA started over the summer just granting a lot of them, and then all of a sudden they pivoted and said anyone that is going to transfer this year, we're not going to make them lose a year of eligibility. So Weaver, this kid Elijah Weaver, who plays for UD, He transferred in from USC. He's the exact same way. He wouldn't lose a year of eligibility. He would play this year and then 2 more seasons afterwards because the NCAA has straight up come out and said that they're going to do that. So it's been puzzling from my end that Dayton has been so hesitant to apply for this waiver. And again, I'm skeptical of everyone and everything. The longer they go on with this no comment, and today Anthony Grant said we're looking into it.
It's 3 weeks away, dude. It's 3 weeks away. Like, what are you looking into right now?
What are you looking into? What are we talking about? Like, like I said, me and you are always on the same wavelength. Like, the UD is very tried and true. The longer you get the no comment, we're looking into it stuff, the longer it makes me, I'm easily skeptical to be like, what else is at play here? So I don't know that anything else is at play. It's just kind of like, hey, let's get moving. Let's get this kid going. Let's get the waiver process because the NCAA already said that he's going to be granted. So I hope it happens. But the longer this draws out, the more skeptical I become, brother. You know me.
Oh, absolutely. Sully with us here. He's the host of Talking Out Loud every Thursday, an hour of Dayton Flyers talk. And, of course, that show's coming up here in 10 minutes. Sully, send us out with this part 2 of your conversation with Brooks Hall. My favorite part of the interview's coming up where, and I talked about this last week. I was like, I gave you credit. I gave him credit for being willing to kind of go into the uncomfortable conversation of, some of the sanctions and everything that came about with some of the violations that came about with his recruitment. Just kind of preview a little bit of what fans can expect coming up with your second conversation with Brooks Hall after the show.
Yeah. I love talking to Brooks. He's one of the best faces of the program, and we have a lot of them. You've talked to Roosevelt Chapman before. I've talked to Keith and Sean Finn, and I have all those interviews up on the Talking Out Loud site. Go search for anywhere you listen to podcasts. Quick plug. But
plug away, dude.
I did a quick plug for the podcast. But Brooks, he really doesn't leave any stone unturned. He's very forthcoming and honest about the things that happened because, frankly, it ended up being like a minor blip on the UD radar. But the thing I love the most about doing these interviews and getting players on the microphone to talk about some of this stuff is you just realize what high-quality people have come through the program over the years. And like I said, Brooks is no exception to that rule. It was just great to hear his stories, his perspective. And I think I always walk away from these interviews thinking, man, we're so lucky to have great guys who, have grown up, and especially like Brooks and Chris Wright, who I think I'm going to get together with Chris Wright here coming up, but, that have stuck around the Dayton area and have had such a positive impact on not only the program and the school, but, the Dayton region in general. And so, that's why I take a lot of pride in what I do and talking to these guys because they're, fabric of our community and you want that community to be represented the right way. And we certainly have a lot of guys doing that, man.
All right, last thing. We just had Matt Babcock from Babcock Hoops on a little bit ago. He had his mock draft out. He has Obi Toppin going number 5 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obi, look, there's no seal. He can go number 1. He could drop to number 7. We have no clue what the heck's going to go on as far as that's concerned. He's a good fit for you could force him with any team that's at the top of this. It's not the deepest draft, but you could find a good quality player here. One thing I forgot about, November 18th is the draft. Free agency starts on the 22nd, and now it's potentially the NBA season will tip off on December 22nd. You talk about getting drafted and hitting the ground running. There is no summer league. There's no, full camp to get ready. It's just going to be hitting the ground running. He's going to have his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he sure is, man. We talked last week how I was selfish. I wanted to end up here in Chicago because I live right down the street from the United Center. But, Matt's a great interview. I actually did an interview with him for Talking Out Loud earlier this offseason that I'm going to release closer to the draft. I'm glad you got to catch up with him. His perspective is great. But, I don't think anybody should worry about Obi. He has enough raw skills that are going to translate well to the NBA, and I still have yet to talk to somebody that has not said that.
I tried to get him to say something bad about him. I said, okay, all we do is talk about how great Obi is. Tell me why he won't get drafted. Why won't he? And he had nothing. No one. They said, well, his defense, but no rookie comes in and guards well, so that'll get. So again, you're right. There's really no flaws. So why couldn't he? Why wouldn't he potentially go number 1? You never know. So
yeah, no, the greatest thing about Matt is that he was in on Obi early. Like he had recognized that he was a talent when the season started and told people to hey, get a flyer on this Obi. I just said flyer. That was a terrible pun. He said, everybody's got to take notice of this Obi kid. And he said it early. And that was one of the things that, I mentioned to him. So thanks for setting me up for that, too. I'll re-release that episode next week so everybody can hear a long-form conversation with Matt about Obi. It's great timing, man.
There you go. All right, so Sully with Talking Out Loud, 1 hour of Dayton Flyer basketball talk coming up here just under 10 minutes from now. Top of the hour. Sully, good stuff. Talk to you next week. And we have Talking Out Loud with Sully coming up next. Sully, thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Talk to you next week. Take care.
All right, coming up next, Talking Out Loud. That wraps it up for us. Kev.
Yo.
Let me bring you back up here. Hold on. Where the hell did that button go? There we go. There you go.
What up? Hey, you never get like a whole bunch of emails 5 minutes before you're supposed to get off work?
No, well...
Don't lie. You have.
No, listen. You know how you take care of emails? Ignore them.
Oh.
Because if you ignore people's emails long enough, they'll stop emailing you and then they'll walk to your office or they'll call you. I
don't want them calling
I hate when people email me. I hate when people now hold up. My boss, I love my boss, Keith. He can email me if he's listening. Keith, you can email me. I'm bad at responding. I promise I don't ignore you. But
you're bad at responding to text messages too.
Now, not text messages. I'm god awful at.
Which I'm trying to show prep with you via text. And,
like when I get your text and it's, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we can use that. I'm usually DoorDashing, so I can't text and drive, Kevin. Oh, man. You're gonna feel really bad when I don't make it to the show one day because I got in an accident.
Oh,
I gotta massage his feelings over here if I don't respond. Well, I see how it is. Folks, Talking Out Loud, an hour of Dayton Flyers talk coming up next. Sully, part 2 of his conversation with Brooks Hall. Until tomorrow, it's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio.